Chapter 731. Fa Yuan chanted, Ba, Lu Yurong frowned too. This Azura's cultivation level was much higher than any of them. Now that he had used his secret skill, none of them could block it. Three of them had to work together. Chuli stepped in front of the Azura and pointed a finger at him. Use petrifying finger. Lu Yurong's body movement technique was extremely fast. She arrived behind the Azura and attacked with her palm. The Azura attacked with both of his palms. His palm energy was firm and blocked Chu Li's finger. His eyes glowed red, but his movements were still fast. Lu Yurong's palm energy collided with his, and she took a step back. The Azura's body suddenly moved and dodged Fa Yuan's petrifying finger. Chu Li already had the nature restoration manifestation and the omniscient mirror to help him. He had predicted that the Azura would dodge this attack. He took the opportunity to punch the Azura. The Azura took 3 steps back, and his body stopped. Fa Yuan's petrifying finger had hit him. Chu Li punched again and hit him again. Lu Yurong's palm also hit his back. Chu Li's nature restoration manifestation and omniscient mirror, Fa Yuan's petrifying finger, and Lu Yurong's Empyrean fairy palm were all top-notch martial arts. With Chu Li's coordination, the three of them worked together seamlessly. This Azura's cultivation level was higher than the three of them. His body movement technique was also extremely fast, but he still could not withstand it. Fa Yuan's petrifying finger was originally difficult to activate, but now that he had used his secret skill, the petrifying finger became much easier. The Azura wanted to dodge, but Chu Li predicted it and blocked him with his fist. This caused the Azura's body movement technique to pause, and he was hit by the petrifying finger. As soon as the petrifying finger hit, Lu Yurong and Chu Li's fist and palm followed. Before the Azura could catch his breath, Fa Yuan's other petrifying finger fell. The three of them worked together seamlessly and hit the Azura more than 20 times in one breath. The Azura was powerless to resist. If it was not for the Azura's strong body, he would have fallen in just a few moves. The sword at Chu Li's waist flashed and slashed the Azura's throat. The Azura tried to dodge, but failed to avoid Chu Li's spear finger from his left hand. The Azura's eyes flickered and a red light flashed. Fa Yuan's petrifying finger landed again, and Chu Li followed up with another spear finger strike. The red glow in the Azura's eyes flashed again. Chu Li seized the opportunity and pressed his palm against the Azura's palm. He activated the cloud, slashing power, and pressed his palms against the Azura's. They were going to compete in inner energy. Bam! The Azura took the hit head-on. He did not want to compete with Chu Li in inner energy and staggered backward. Lu Yurong's Empyrean fairy palm landed on his shoulder, and Fa Yuan's petrifying finger struck again. Bang! Azura staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of Lu Yurong's Empyrean fairy palm was beyond imagination. Chu Li's sword flashed. Just as Fa Yuan's petrifying finger was about to hit the Azura, the sword flashed past his legs. The Azura groaned and knelt on the ground in disbelief. The Azura's body was strong. Usually, even a modesty sword would not be able to hurt him. However, the petrifying finger gave him an opportunity. When the petrifying finger hit him, his vital energy froze and could not protect his body. As the Azura knelt on the ground, Lu Yurong hit him on the back, right behind his heart. His body froze instantly. Fa Yuan used the spear finger strike. The Azura spat out a mouthful of blood. Chu Li quickly went forward and sealed his acupuncture points. Then he cut the tendons in his hands and let out a long sigh of relief. This is a powerful fellow. Fa Yuan nodded slowly. The three of them withdrew their secret skills and returned to normal. They looked at each other. They all felt a sense of contentment, an indescribable sense of joy. The battle was finally over. Other than Fong Qingyang, who had escaped, the others did not escape. Their martial arts were crippled, their acupuncture points sealed, and they were thrown to the ground. There were a total of 27 people. After defeating these people, the masked man in white quickly retreated. His footsteps were silent. They were all trying to guess the identities of their companions. The G public house regained its peace. Zhou Mei and the maids were left in the study. Chu Li did not bring them out in consideration of the High Duke's public house's reputation. Chu Li and High Duke Ji stood in front of the main hall and looked at the men in black on the ground. The black scars on their faces had been removed, revealing their true faces. They could see that there were 10 Azuras. The rest were mostly middle-aged and old men. High Duke, I'll be taking these fellows with me. Chu Li pointed at the 10 Azuras and shook his head. Tonight's incident should have been handled in a low-key manner. Don't let anyone know, and don't spread the news. I know. Zhou Yuqian nodded slowly and sighed. The Holy Church of Light really thinks highly of me. Chu Li smiled. I guess they won't dare to mess around again. I'm just afraid that they won't give up and will try to get back at us. Zhou Yuqian shook his head. Chu Li said, if they come again, I won't just stand by and do nothing. Let's show them what we're made of. Zhou Yuqian smiled. I've been waiting for you to say that. Chu Li chuckled. This time, it's all thanks to your cooperation, High Duke. It's a pity that the priest from the Holy Church of Light ran away. It's good that he ran away, Zhou Yuqian said. If we really kill a priest, the Holy Church of Light won't rest until we're dead. Chu Li nodded. I won't ask you where you got so many martial arts masters from. Zhou Yuqian took out an iron tag and handed it to Chu Li. This is the waist tag of the High Duke's public house. If you need anything, you can use this tag to command the disciples of the public house within the boundaries of the public house. Chu Li took it and smiled. Thank you, High Duke. Zhou Yuqian said, I can't thank you enough. If it wasn't for you this time, the public house would have been finished. I would have become a sinner of the Zhou clan and would have been too ashamed to face my ancestors. Chu Li smiled and said nothing. If it wasn't for his help this time and the gathering of so many martial arts masters, High Duke Ji would have been dead. He was a little shocked. The Holy Church of Light was becoming more and more unscrupulous. They actually gathered more than 20 grandmasters in one go and wanted to destroy a public house. This was something beyond imagination. In people's minds, no matter how strong the Holy Church of Light was, they would not dare to do such a thing. Yet they did. Chu Li had already read their minds and knew that they wanted to steal the High Duke's badge. The Holy Church of Light's wild ambition shocked him. I'll tell the Secret Guardians Hall that there was no such thing with the Holy Church of Light, Chu Li said. Zhou Yuqian sighed. I owe you a favor. Chu Li said, to the Secret Guardians Hall, this matter is over. It's not that important whether there's a traitor or not. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. All right. Stay for a while when you have time next time. Zhou Yuqian smiled. Let Zifeng learn from you. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. He gave a fist salute and glided away. Zhou Yuqian sighed as he watched him disappear. With such a person around, Zifeng was really unfortunate. His light was dim. The 10 Azuras were sent to a restaurant by Zhou Yuqian's men. Chu Li divided the 10 Azuras into 6, 3, and 1. The Tempest Temple took 6, the Amethyst Mountain took 3, and the Green Deer Cliff took 1 in exchange for 12 adversity surpassing pills, 6 amethyst pills, and 2 primary heaven pills. These spirit pills and the 20 bottles of fortifying pills from the G Public House were all given to the E Public House, Rim Public House, and Hawaii Public House. They were divided equally according to the number of masters. Everyone quietly left the G Public House in silence. Other than the people involved, almost no one knew about this great battle. Chu Li bid farewell to everyone and returned to Qingyan Town. Co Shi was reading and admiring the flowers in the courtyard while he cultivated the all-knowing scripture in his house. He also checked on the progress of the nature restoration manifestation and realized that the progress was much greater than he imagined. It seemed that fighting with the Azuras was indeed beneficial to the progress of the nature restoration manifestation. He had to find more in the future and cultivate the all-knowing scripture. He cultivated for 2 days in one go. On the 3rd day, he returned to the Secret Guardians Hall. The Secret Guardians Hall was as usual. There were no changes. He went to May Air Courtyard. Qin Jin and the others had already returned and were cultivating in the martial arts field. He waved his hand to indicate that they did not have to stop and went to the main hall. Yang Zongwen followed him in and reported the news from the fairy's capital. Chun Donghai had recovered from his injuries, Ma Kuan was hiding from the secret Guardians Hall, and the commanders were paying attention to the G Public House's case. Chapter 732. Fu Mengshan and Su Huanda were sitting in the main hall. "Commander," Chu Li greeted with a fist salute after entering the hall. "Commander Su." Fu Mengshan waved and shook his head. "You Su Huanda sighed too. I'm sorry to have given you an identity." "What about you, Sai?" Chu Li smiled apologetically. "I've let you down, commanders, but there's no other way. If I force myself to use that identity, it'll be useless." "That's true." Fu Mengshan chuckled. "You can only use your identity for this." It's shocking. After receiving the information, they looked at each other. Chu Li managed to gather so many grandmasters in one go. Moreover, he commanded them calmly and displayed outstanding commanding skills. He was indeed a talented commander. Su Huanda shook his head. "You've given the Holy Church of Light a surprise. Just wait for their revenge." Fu Mengshan said, "The Holy Church of Light will definitely retaliate this time. Young Chu, you must be prepared." Chu Li replied, "I can only cultivate in isolation. It won't be that easy." Su Huanda scoffed. "Do you think they can't do anything to you?" Fu Mengshan said, "They'll probably take revenge on Princess Eo or the E Public House, or even the G Public House. They won't let you have a good time, or the Holy Church of Light will lose face. You've caused too much trouble this time. Masters from so many sects have joined forces. Your ability to form alliances is unique." Su Huanda shook his head. "This will make the Holy Church of Light even more afraid of you. If it's like this now, what will happen in the future? It'll be a huge threat that must be eliminated. Unfortunately, our infiltration of the Holy Church of Light is not going well." Fu Mengshan sighed. "We can't find out what they're doing, or else we'll be able to receive news in advance and be prepared. There's nothing we can do now." Su Huanda shook his head. "There's nothing we can do." Chu Li pondered. He initially planned to kill some Azuras and cultivate the nature restoration manifestation to a certain level. Then, he would break Shao Qi's inner state and win her heart so that they could be together for a long time. After winning Shao Qi's heart, he would then focus on breaking through to the enlightened mastery's boundary and obtain the Spirit Crane technique. With the Spirit Crane as a friend, cultivating the Spirit Crane technique would yield twice the result with half the effort. He would even have an advantage over the disciples of Green Deer Cliff. Unfortunately, he had painstakingly pursued it several times and even secretly followed Zhao Tianxing to watch him cultivate, but he did not manage to master the Spirit Crane technique. Zhao Tianxing had never cultivated the Spirit Crane incantation because it was too basic. Now that he was cultivating a more profound heart technique, he had stopped cultivating the Spirit Crane incantation and cast it aside. The Spirit Crane technique was the fundamental heart technique of Green Deer Cliff, and it could not be taught to outsiders. As a disciple of Green Deer Cliff, Xiao Yueling would never teach it to him. She even told him that it was useless for outsiders to learn the Spirit Crane technique. Without the inheritance of Green Deer Cliff, the Spirit Crane technique would be useless. His plan was to learn the Spirit Crane technique and then diligently cultivate the sun-cultivating White Tiger portrait. If he wanted to learn the martial arts of the four major sects, or even the four major sects of the Great Li dynasty, and master them to the peak, then he would have a chance to break through to the heavenly god realm. However, this great battle made him understand that things wouldn't go as he wished. Accidents were everywhere. It was impossible for him to kill the Azuras in peace because the Holy Church of Light would not allow him to have peace. Su Huanda snorted. "You've been in danger lately. Be careful of assassinations." Chu Li shook his head and sighed. "I'm not afraid of assassination, but I'm afraid of them assassinating others." "That's inevitable," Su Huanda said. "The more you care about others, the more they'll assassinate you, so you have to pretend that you don't care." Chu Li frowned. "If that doesn't work, let Chu Lingfeng enter the Great Li dynasty and investigate the Holy Church of Light." "What nonsense!" Su Huanda snorted. Fu Mengshan waved his hand. "It's not that far yet. Young Chu, the Holy Church of Light can subdue you in the Great Ji dynasty, let alone the Great Li dynasty. Don't even think about it." Su Huanda said, "Don't think that you're invincible. You're still far from it. Chu Li nodded slowly. He agreed with this. He was still miles away from being invincible. Fu Mengshan said, the E-Public House isn't what it used to be. You don't have to worry too much. Yes, Chu Li said, but the Holy Church of Light still has to enter. They are after the High Duke's medallion. This time it was High Duke Ji. I don't know which High Duke's public house it will be next. Their ambition is too shocking. If we don't plan now, there'll be endless trouble in the future. Then let's put some pawns in. Fu Mengshan said, it might work. Chu Li shook his head. It hasn't worked before, and it won't work in the future. I'll do it myself. This is too dangerous. Fu Mengshan frowned. Chu Li was the future successor. How could he take such a risk? Su Huanda scoffed. You have to know that it's the Great Li dynasty. Once you're discovered, you won't be able to escape. Moreover, the Holy Church of Light has many strange people. It's impossible to guard against them. Who knows which one of them will discover you? Fu Mengshan said, leave this to someone else. Chu Li said, I'm prepared to take things slow and steady. I'll start from the bottom, one step at a time. I'll spend a few years to solidify my foundation. I won't rush for results. I'll eventually be able to come into contact with the higher-ups. 10 years later, I might become an altar leader or even a priest. Fu Mengshan and Su Huanda laughed. Young Chu, you're really daring. Fu Mengshan laughed. Su Huanda shook his head and said, these 4 major sects all have secret skills that can test whether a person is loyal or not. Just like how none of the people they sent to the Tempest Temple were successful, and those they sent to the Holy Church of Light were all elites as well. None of them were spared. Su Huanda said, so don't go to your death. Just cultivate your martial arts. It won't be too late to fight them when you're stronger. Chu Li said, can the Secret Guardians Hall provide me with a clean identity in the Li dynasty? Young Chu, you're not serious, are you? Fu Mengshan laughed. Chu Li nodded slowly. Yes, I want to try. Don't mess around. Su Huanda scoffed. Chu Li said, there's no harm in trying. If something goes wrong, I won't take the risk. It'll be too late by then. Once exposed, you'll definitely die. Su Huanda said. Fu Mengshan said, young Chu, this is the most dangerous path. Chu Li said in a low voice, Commander, someone has to try it. Otherwise, we'll never be able to do anything to the Holy Church of Light. Fu Mengshan turned to look at Su Huanda. Su Huanda shook his head. I don't agree. Chu Li said, Commander Su, don't worry. I won't go there immediately. After some time, after I'm done here, I'll go there and live for a while before entering the Holy Church of Light. Fu Mengshan pondered. He was now very confident in Chu Li. Chu Li could do things that others could not, but he could. Until now, there was no secret guardian who could enter the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li could do what others could not. He might succeed, and that would be very important to the Secret Guardians Hall. Suddenly, hurried footsteps were heard from outside. Liang strode in with a bamboo tube. Commander, it's urgent. Fu Mengshan quickly reached out to take it. After removing the wax seal, he took out the paper scroll and read it. He then frowned and passed it to Su Huanda. Su Huanda read it and passed it to Chu Li. Chapter 733. P.S. Update complete. It should be Azura. Su Huanda scoffed. D*M in it. Fu Mengshan asked, Commander Su, do you have any ideas? Su Huanda shook his head. Who in the Secret Guardians Hall can handle Azura? I'll go. Chu Li said, I can avoid the Holy Church of Light's pursuit. They can't do anything in the military. He was excited whenever he heard about Azura. It was related to his nature, restoration, manifestation advancement. Moreover, capturing one more would be a great merit. Therefore, while others saw it as a dangerous path, he saw it as a bright path. How dangerous is that? Fu Mengshan frowned and said, Young Chu, you should know that the scariest thing is not the Azuras, but the Grandmasters are very fragile in a military formation. They can easily lose their lives. Chu Li said slowly, I know. You still want to go? Fu Mengshan scoffed. Chu Li said, If I don't go, who will? Qin Jin and the others? Or Centurion Chun and the others? Fu Mengshan frowned and remained silent. Su Wanda said, "The secret guardian's hall will reject it and let the high official from the imperial house go." Chu Li shook his head. Since the Xi military has sent someone to ask for help, how can the secret guardian's hall not send someone? Let me do it. So, Fu Mengshan sighed. Su Wanda said, "Otherwise, let the other centurions discuss it and see who's willing to go." All right. Fu Mengshan nodded. He was sure that the other centurions would avoid it. Only Chu Li would not care about his own safety and volunteer. With such a subordinate, they had no worries as commanders, but they always felt that they were letting him down. Fu Mengshan's order? "Liang, let the other centurions come over." When Chen Donghai came in and saw Chu Li, he was surprised. "Centurion Chu, is the G public house done?" Chu Li nodded. Chen Donghai asked curiously, "Is there a problem?" Chu Li shook his head. "There's no big problem." "That's good." Chen Donghai sighed. "If there's a problem with the High Duke's public house, I don't know what to do." Chu Li smiled and nodded. Cough. Fu Mengshan coughed softly, glanced at the 12 centurions, and said in a deep voice, "I've just received a request for help from the Xi army. More than a dozen monsters have suddenly appeared in the Li dynasty's army, and the military formation is ineffective against them. They're killing people like slaughtering chickens, and they've already wiped out a 100-man squad of the Xi army." Chu Li sat there silently. He knew what they were thinking. These fellows come and go like ghosts. They suddenly appear and launch sneak attacks. After killing someone, they float away. The military's tracking masters can't find them, so they asked the Secret Guardians Hall for help and asked us to send our tracking masters over. "The Ning brothers," someone said without hesitation. Su Wanda snorted. "Every courtyard has tracking experts, yet you're only sending the Ning brothers?" "Commander Su, if the Xi army can't do anything, then it's pointless for us to go." That's right. Maybe they're just trying their best and don't have much hope. Just send 2 tracking experts." They knew very well how powerful the Xi army was. The martial arts masters in the army far surpassed the Secret Guardians Hall. If they could not do anything to this group of monsters, then the Secret Guardians Hall would not be able to. "These 10 or so monsters are Azuras, right?" someone said. Su Wanda scoffed. "At least you understand. If I'm not mistaken, they should be Azuras." All the centurions fell silent. They kept quiet out of fear. The hall was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. They all knew how terrifying Azuras were. They had extremely strong bodies and were almost indestructible. Their killing techniques were almost instinctive. They were extremely terrifying existences. Su Wanda said, "Why? None of them want to go." "Commander Su, these fellows are really... Do you want us to tell the Xi army that the Secret Guardians Hall doesn't have any tracking masters? Why don't we just let the Ning brothers go?" Chen Donghai said, "The Ning brothers' light body technique is also very powerful. If they really find Azuras, they can escape." "Commander Su, there will be Xi army martial arts masters to protect us, right?" Su Wanda said, "Of course. I'm just afraid that they might not be able to protect us." A centurion sighed. Su Wanda said coldly, "All right then, you guys go about your business. I will find someone." "Commander Su, this is too dangerous." Everyone was a little embarrassed. Fu Mengshan waved his hand and said, "All right, I've seen through you guys. You snatch credit when it comes to it and run when it comes to danger. You're irresponsible." The centurions pretended not to hear him. This was a matter of their own strength and the life and death of their subordinates. How could they be heroes? When they left, there were only 3 people left in the hall. Sigh. Fu Mengshan shook his head and said, "Looks like you'll have to go, young Chu." Su Wanda said, "Call the Ning brothers." Chu Li shook his head. "I can do it myself." "Are you sure you can do it yourself?" Su Wanda frowned. Chu Li smiled and said, "I've dealt with King Ping before, so I'm not a stranger this time. King Ping also owes us a favor." Fu Mengshan smiled and said, "Young Chu, you can use this favor when you go this time." Chu Li nodded. "All right, I'll leave it to you." Fu Mengshan sighed. The Secret Guardians Hall is becoming more and more useless. We need to teach these fellows a lesson. It's not that we don't have talents. It's that we're all stingy and irresponsible. Su Wanda shook his head and said, "Other than the Ning brothers, Elder Gu and Elder Pu are rare tracking experts." Chu smiled. "They're doing this for the lives of their subordinates, just like how I don't want the Ning brothers to go." "That's true," Fu Mengshan said. "If it weren't for you, young Chu, I'd have to force them to go." Chu nodded. "Since there's an urgent need for reinforcements, I'll rush over immediately." "Be careful," Fu Mengshan said. "Your health is the most important. If you can't win, run." Chu nodded and fist saluted, then turned around and left the hall. King Ping's marshal's tent. King Ping was staring at the terrain. His face was gloomy and his brows were furrowed. A heavily armored soldier suddenly stepped in. "Your Royal Highness, there's a scribe from your Royal Highness's residence outside. Scribe Liu is requesting an audience with his pass." "Scribe Liu?" King Ping raised his head and looked at him thoughtfully. "Let him in." "Yes." The heavily armored soldier responded and turned around to leave. After a while, Chu arrived at the military tent under the lead of the heavily armored soldier. He fist saluted. "Greetings, your Royal Highness," King Ping said in a low voice. "It's really you." He waved his hand, and the heavily armored soldier retreated. King Ping said, "You're the tracking expert sent by the Secret Guardians Hall?" Chu smiled and nodded. "I've achieved some minor success in tracking." "Your Royal Highness is looking for a jurist?" "That's right," King Ping said in a low voice. "Find them and kill them." Chu nodded. "Leave it to me, but I need enough masters." "No problem," King Ping scoffed. "How many masters do you want?" 15. Chu said. "Their cultivation level must be high enough. When do we act?" Chapter 734. King Ping ordered, "Someone, gather 15 martial arts masters." "Yes," someone answered outside the tent. King Ping sized Chu up and said, "I heard you've cleaned up the Ministry of War?" Chu nodded. "The Ministry of War is still clean. There are no more traitors. People's hearts are unpredictable and can change at any time." Chu shook his head. "They might be loyal to the Jith dynasty now, but they might be loyal to the Li dynasty the next. Therefore, traitors can never be completely eliminated. We can only try our best." "You're very capable." King Ping nodded approvingly. "So, have you ever thought of serving the military?" Chu shook his head and smiled. "Once a secret guardian, always a secret guardian. It's okay. I can tolerate it if it's you." King Ping said, "You could be a secret guardian in the military too. You can also pass the news to the Secret Guardians Hall." Chu shook his head. "I can't do such a thing. I'll have to disappoint your Royal Highness." "What a pity." King Ping shook his head. "You shouldn't use your abilities on the fairy's capital. You should use them on national affairs instead. It's a waste of resources." "Your Royal Highness, you flatter me." Chu said, "I know what I'm capable of. It'll be a great sin if I mess up military affairs." "Anyway, you don't want to come." King Ping scoffed. "You think it's dangerous in the military, right?" Chu smiled and nodded. "Yes." King Ping glanced at him and shook his head. "You're a guy who's not afraid of death. I admire you more and more. If you can't stand firm in the fairy's capital in the future, come to me. I welcome you anytime." He waved his hand. "Don't be in a hurry to refuse. No one knows what will happen to them in the next moment. Everyone's fate is in the hands of others. How can you decide for yourself?" "Yes," Chu said slowly. He frowned to himself. King Ping's words had a special meaning. It seemed like he really did not want to give up his military power. In that case, it would be a bloodbath. It was not appropriate for him to get involved in such matters for now. He was not qualified, yet as his foundation was not stable. "Commander-in-Chief," someone shouted from outside. "They're here. Come in," King Ping said. The thick curtains of the tent were lifted and 15 people walked in. Their expressions were calm, and their gazes were like lightning. They cupped their fists and greeted in unison. "Greetings, Marshal." Chu glanced at them. They were all grandmasters. "How is it?" King Ping looked at the 15 of them with satisfaction and smiled. "Are you satisfied?" Chu shook his head. "No." King Ping turned to look at him. Chu shook his head. King Ping frowned and stared at him. Chu looked at him calmly and shook his head lightly. King Ping scoffed and waved his hand. "You may leave." The 15 grandmasters gave a fist salute in response. They glanced at Chu Li and strode out of the tent. Why? King Ping asked. Chu Li shook his head. Their martial arts aren't strong enough. If they go, they'll just die. You seen those guys? King Ping frowned. They're Juras, right? Chu Li nodded. They're Juras with profound cultivation levels. Even if these people were to slash at them with their treasured swords, those Azuras would stand still and not be able to do anything to them, so it won't work. Before he entered the camp, he had already tracked down that group of Azuras. With the help of the all-knowing scripture, they gathered together. The smell of blood was so strong that it was like a sun. He could see them even if he did not want to, so he sneaked over to take a look at them. He realized that their cultivation levels were similar to the ones that attacked the G public house. King Ping stared at him. You're not exaggerating on purpose, are you? Chu Li said, Your Royal Highness should know how strong they are. Think about it. Can those 15 martial arts masters destroy a 100-man squad? They can't. King Ping shook his head. Chu Li smiled. You'll need to find a martial arts master who could destroy a 100-man squad with only 15 people, right? King Ping scoffed. Chu Li said, There are 10 Azuras. 10 of them can destroy a 100-man squad, 1 against 10. King Ping frowned and thought about it. The suppression of military formations is ineffective against them. Chu Li pondered. If there were 100 civilians, it wouldn't be difficult for one person to kill 100 of them. But there are 100 soldiers. King Ping nodded slowly. In this 100-man squad, there was 1 grandmaster and 10 perfected innate masters. The rest of the soldiers were also innate masters and were proficient in the joint attack technique of military formations. The joint attack of 10 innate masters was equivalent to 1 grandmaster. In this way, a 100-man squad was equivalent to 11 grandmasters. However, this calculation was not correct because these 100 people were not isolated in a squad of 10 people. Teams of 10 people could also attack together, which was equivalent to 11 grandmasters attacking together, which was extremely powerful. If the 15 grandmasters who came in earlier could attack together, they could barely suppress a 100-man squad, but it would be impossible to destroy them cleanly. Chu Li said, The Azura's killing technique is instinctive. With the same cultivation level, they're more terrifying, so we need 15 martial arts masters whose cultivation levels are far higher than theirs. All right, again, King Ping scoffed and raised his voice. Call the best 15 martial arts masters here. Yes. Someone outside answered, and the sound of footsteps faded away. Azuras can't be killed, they can only be crippled. King Ping frowned. What are you going to do with them? Send them to Amethyst Mountain to be suppressed, Chu Li said. Amethyst Mountain. King Ping nodded slowly. Very good. Chu Li asked, Your Royal Highness, do you have any concerns? As long as we can get rid of them, I don't care, King Ping said in a low voice. Their existence has a huge impact on our morale. Chu Li nodded in understanding. Not being affected by military formations does affect morale. Military formations were the foundation of an army. Once they were in a military formation, the strength of a grandmaster would be greatly reduced. However, ordinary soldiers in a military formation would have their strength greatly increased and their speed increased. With the strength of a martial arts master, an innate master could threaten a grandmaster. Therefore, in a military formation, they were not afraid of a martial arts master. As long as they joined hands, a martial arts master would not be able to stop them. However, once the military formation lost its effectiveness, they would become lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They would be powerless in front of a martial arts master and would be at their mercy. Commander-in-Chief. Footsteps were heard from outside. King Ping said, Come in. The thick felt curtain was lifted again, and 15 grandmasters walked in. Chu Li glanced at them and shook his head. King Ping frowned and stared at him in dissatisfaction. He waved his hand. The 15 grandmasters retreated. These are the top martial arts masters in the camp. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. They are not the top martial arts masters. The top martial arts masters are in the tent. King Ping burst out laughing. You want my protectors? Chu Li said. Your Royal Highness's protectors and Deputy General Sun's protectors the last time we met are all rare martial arts masters. You're quite brave. King Ping scoffed. Chapter 735. Chu Li asked, Your Royal Highness, are you worried that they're trying to lure us away? It's not impossible, King Ping said. Chu Li nodded. That depends on whether your Royal Highness dares to take this gamble. Although the masters who came in earlier are strong, they can't suppress the Azuras. The Azura's cultivation level is very high. The previous 2 batches of masters would be courting death if they went over. Is there no other way? King Ping scoffed. Chu Li shook his head. Either we wait for them to wreak havoc, or we take this gamble and try to eliminate them. They think that their whereabouts are so secretive that no one can find them. King Ping paced a few steps in the tent with his hands behind his back. He suddenly stopped and hit his palm with his fist. Fine, I'll take this gamble. Chu Li smiled. Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Why are you thanking me? You're working for me. King Ping waved his hand. Come out. 4 middle-aged men suddenly appeared in the tent. It was as if they had been standing there all along, but were not discovered. Their auras were majestic, like 4 towering mountains in the tent, making it hard for people to breathe. Chu Li smiled and nodded. Very well. He knew that although these 4 middle-aged men looked young, they were actually more than 100 years old. Their cultivation level was profound, and they were rare masters. Each of these people's cultivation level was similar to the Azuras. With the advantage in numbers, they could suppress the Azuras. Coupled with his support, they could fight back. King Ping scoffed. Follow me. He turned and left the tent, followed by Chu Li. King Ping walked past 4 more big tents, all of which belonged to the army's deputy generals. Sun Jianhe was nowhere to be seen. Chu Li wondered how King Ping had dealt with him. When he returned to King Ping's tent again, he had gathered 16 masters. Are you satisfied this time? King Ping asked. Chu Li smiled. I'm more confident now. Let's take action now. It's all up to you. King Ping said slowly. 10 middle-aged men were gathered around a bonfire in the forest. A few deer were being roasted on the fire, sizzling with oil. The oil dripped onto the bonfire, making a crisp, crackling sound. The fire grew stronger, and the fragrance assailed the nostrils. They sat quietly with a long distance between them, surrounded by a subtle aura. The Azuras were filled with hostility towards one another. It was an instinctive hostility that could not be eliminated. It was very rare to see 2 Azuras together, let alone 10. At this moment, the 10 Azuras gathered together. Their hostility was surging, but they had been suppressed and maintained a balance. However, none of them could be bothered to speak. They only stared at the deer on the bonfire. Some were lost in thought, while others were cultivating. There's someone here. A low shout rang out. Chu Li suddenly appeared behind them and shot a petrifying finger at one of them. The next moment, he appeared in front of the man, and the sword at his waist instantly slashed his ankle. With a muffled sound, the Azura's feet left his legs, and he was unable to stand up. The crowd scoffed angrily and pounced on Chu Li. With a twist of his body, Chu Li broke free from their encirclement. As his sword flashed past, clanging sounds could be heard as it pierced through the throats of several Azuras in an instant. It was as if he had struck a rock. At their peak, they were invulnerable. Ordinary people would feel despair when they saw these monsters. They were invulnerable, treasured swords could not cut them, and palm and fist energy could hardly hurt them. Fighting an Azura was like fighting an Iron Man, which made people feel despair. However, Chu Li knew that they were not that scary. As long as he caught the moment when their vitality was weak, he could stab them. Others could not see clearly, so he could only force his way through. He had the omniscient mirror, so he could see clearly. The Azuras were extremely fast. Even if he saw them, it would be difficult to take advantage of their weakness. However, it was different with the help of others. He needed the help of masters, like Fa Yuan and Lu Yurong. Although the 16 masters he brought with him were not as good as Fa Yuan and Lu Yurong, they were not too far off and could fight. When the 16 masters saw Chu Li disappear, they desperately chased after him. Finally, they saw Chu-Li fighting 9 Azuras, so they rushed forward. With their help, Chu-Li sighed in relief. Elder Luo, Elder Gu, come with me to deal with this. Chu-Li said. He had already injured the most powerful one. Now, he would find a second master and the other 2 elders to attack with him. Even if they were not convinced by Chu-Li, they followed the habits of soldiers and did not disobey. This Azura was thin and short, a head shorter than them. He looked easy to bully, but he was extremely fast. His body movement technique was like a ghost, and his Shura palm was unpredictable. If the 3 of them did not attack him together, they would not be able to stop him. Chu-Li's omniscient mirror and manifestation of nature restoration were operating at high speed, including everyone in the field. Suddenly, he pointed backward. The petrifying finger hit an Azura's shoulder, and his body suddenly stopped. Chu-Li followed up with a second finger and hit him again. He was about to move, but stopped again. In just 2 moves, Chu-Li had already appeared in front of him. With a flash of his sword, both of his legs were cut off, and he fell to the ground. Chu-Li and Elder Luo and Elder Gu surrounded the thin Azura. When he broke away, the Azura had already turned the tables. Once Chu-Li joined in, he was suppressed again and struggled. Chu-Li's petrifying finger did not seem to require inner energy, as he kept pointing. He used the petrifying finger with his right hand to attack the Azura, and used the petrifying finger with his left hand to sneak an attack. Whichever master was at a disadvantage, he would immediately point his finger at them to relieve the pressure. Bang! With a muffled sound, the Azura that was surrounded by Chu-Li suddenly turned into a skeleton. His eyes glowed red as he glanced at them coldly and mercilessly. His body movement technique suddenly sped up, and he became even more unpredictable like a ghost. Chu-Li scoffed. Let's go. The 16 Grandmasters immediately took off. They were extremely fast and did not hesitate at all. Chu-Li was the last one to run. He suddenly pointed backward and hit a middle-aged Azura with a petrifying finger. With a flash, he appeared in front of him and hit him with another petrifying finger before the other Azuras could reach him. Then, with a flash of his sword, the Azura's legs were separated from his body, and he fell to the ground. The Azura's tolerance for pain was beyond imagination. The pain of their legs being cut off did not make them scream, and they only grunted before they fell silent. When Chu-Li suddenly disappeared, the other 7 Azuras stopped. They stared at the direction where Chu-Li had disappeared with gloomy expressions, and then turned to look at each other. Chu-Li and the others ran for more than 10 miles before they stopped. The moonlight was like water. Although they were not young, they still looked excited. Centurion Chu, that was fun. A middle-aged, round-faced elder laughed. This sneak attack was really fun. Chu-Li smiled. Seniors, I'm very grateful that you listened to me. Once they use their secret skill, there's no need for us to fight them head-on. We've killed 3 of them in this sneak attack, so there are still 7 left. Next time, they'll definitely use their secret skill, so we have to retreat immediately. Centurion Chu, don't worry. We'll listen to you. The others gave him a fist salute. At first, they doubted his ability, but when they saw that he was able to track down the Azuras, they were convinced that he was indeed capable. This time, they were even more impressed that he was able to cripple 3 Azuras in one go while the others were unharmed. Chu-Li said, once they use their secret skill, we'll retreat. Once they stop using their secret skill, we'll charge forward. Let's see how many times they can struggle. An Azura that used their secret skill was extremely terrifying. Even if they used their secret skill, it would be a Pyrrhic victory, which was not what Chu-Li wanted. The Azura's secret skill could not be used more than twice a day. This was what Fa Yuan had told him before they parted after the Jihai Duke's battle. It was the latest secret that the Tempest Temple had researched. Chapter 736. The 7 Azuras tossed the remaining 3 aside and allowed them to recover on their own. In a few days, their legs would grow back. This was the wonder of the body of Azura, a wonder that was coveted by everyone in the martial arts world and even the 4 major sects. As soon as they sat down, Chu-Li appeared again and shot several petrifying fingers at one of them. Before that person could perform his secret skill, Chu Li struck him with another petrifying finger and chopped off both of his legs. Every time he used the petrifying finger to break the body of Azura, Chu Li would be amazed by the martial arts of the Tempest Temple. Such a powerful body of Azura was restrained by the petrifying finger. Bam, bam, bam. The 6 Azuras performed their secret skill again. No matter how hostile and indifferent they were to their companions, they were enraged by Chu Li. Their killing intent surged, and they were determined to kill him. Before the 16 Grandmasters could rush out, they heard Chu Li shout, "Retreat!" They turned and ran. Chu Li ran in the opposite direction and lured the 6 Azuras to follow him. After running for a mile, Chu Li suddenly disappeared. The 6 Azuras were furious and wanted to scream at the sky. They had a sense of smell that far surpassed that of humans, so it was easy for them to find someone. Unfortunately, they could not track Chu Li's scent at all. After a while, they could only withdraw their secret skill and return to their original spot. However, they did not expect that the 16 Grandmasters were already waiting there. They were already angry that they could not catch up to Chu Li. When they saw the 16 Grandmasters, they rushed over without hesitation. The 16 Grandmasters were almost 3 against 1, but they managed to stop them. Bam, bam, bam. With a series of muffled sounds, they performed their secret skill again. Retreat! Chu Li's voice rang out. The 16 Grandmasters turned around and ran away. Chu Li suddenly appeared and shot out 3 petrifying fingers from each of his hands toward the 6 Azuras to stop them from chasing after him. They turned and chased after him without hesitation. Chu Li ran for another 2 miles and disappeared again. The 6 Azuras were provoked by Chu Li's killing intent, but they were not stupid. They immediately realized Chu Li's intention and turned to leave. They would kill Chu Li tomorrow, so it was better to leave today. However, Chu Li suddenly appeared and attacked one of the Azuras with 2 finger forces. The Azura was tall and strong. He dodged the first finger, but he couldn't dodge the second. The second finger seemed to have been calculated and was waiting for him to collide with it. He tried his best to avoid the second finger, but the third finger was already upon him. Unable to avoid it, he could only strike out with his palm. His body suddenly froze. At this moment, his companions sensed that something was wrong and rushed towards him. Chu Li appeared at the same time that his body froze. The modesty sword drew a sword ray that swept past his ankles. Both of his feet silently left his legs. The Azuras were hostile toward each other, so they kept a safe distance from each other to prevent themselves from fighting. Chu Li made use of the distance between them. They rushed over, their eyes shining with a cold light, but most of them couldn't use their secret techniques. The heavenly demonic orb fell into Chu Li's precordium, and his entire body was filled with boundless energy. Chu Li rushed toward the 5 men and forcefully took on their Shura palms, using a suicidal method. From time to time, he would suffer a Shura palm, but he didn't seem to care. He simply brandished the modesty sword while using the petrifying finger or the spear finger strike. The second stage of the spear finger strike was silent, like a gentle breeze that was impossible to guard against. However, the Azuras had amazing battle instincts, and the second stage of the spear finger strike could not hit them. Centurion Chu. 16 Grandmasters arrived. When they saw that Chu Li was being attacked by the 5 Azuras, they immediately rushed over. Chu Li was instantly relieved of the pressure. The rest was much simpler. He used the omniscient mirror and the manifestation of nature restoration to wander among the crowd. At critical moments, his attack was usually effective. 2 hours later, all 5 Azuras had fallen. Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. His entire body felt exhausted. It was not his physical strength that had been exhausted, but his mental strength. They brought 10 Azuras back to the main camp. King Ping held a banquet in his tent and invited Chu Li to drink alone. King Ping's tent was extremely luxurious. The delicacies on the table were the best Chu Li had ever seen. Chu Li had seen countless delicacies in the High Duke's public house, the imperial residence, and even other places, but he had never seen these delicacies on the table. They looked, smelled, and smelled so good that he drooled. After a small jar of wine was sealed with clay, It was almost tasteless. When it was poured into a jasper cup, it was like oil, giving off a heavy feeling. In one gulp, the wine was fragrant, and his organs were steeped in the aroma. It was as if his brain was filled with the mellow aroma. It was truly a supreme enjoyment. "Good wine," Chuli praised. "Come, I'll give you a toast. You've helped me get rid of my mortal enemy." King Ping raised a jasper cup and praised, "Sun Janha from last time, and the azuras this time, well done." Chuli smiled and toasted with him. "Your Royal Highness, you're flattering me." Putting down a jasper cup, King Ping sighed. "I know you're worried about the fight for the throne, so you don't dare to come and help me." Chuli was silent. This topic was not suitable for discussion. King Ping said, "I know that everyone thinks highly of sixth younger brother. They think that he's the legitimate heir and should be the emperor." Chuli held the jasper cup and played with it, as if it was a rare treasure that he could not get enough of. He did not listen to King Ping anymore. King Ping continued, "But I know that once sixth younger brother ascends the throne, my life will be in danger." Chuli continued to play with the jasper cup. King Ping chuckled. "If it were me, I wouldn't feel at ease leaving a brother who has been in charge of the military for so many years alive." Chuli was still playing with the jasper cup. King Ping said, "Chuli, you also think that I can't compete with sixth younger brother, right?" Chuli sighed and put down the jasper cup. "Your Royal Highness, I know that you only want to be a general and not the emperor. Your Royal Highness, you're not suited to be the emperor either." King Ping squinted his eyes and smiled. "What do you mean?" Chuli pointed inside the tent and shook his head. "If your Royal Highness is aiming for the throne, wouldn't this be giving others a handle on you? The imperial house wouldn't be so luxurious, yet your Royal Highness dares to do this?" King Ping snorted and said nothing. Chuli said, "Your Royal Highness, you don't want to be the emperor, and you can't be the emperor either. If you don't want King Jing to be the emperor, then it's easy. Just support someone else." King Ping said coldly. "Kingen?" Chuli shook his head. "Kingen isn't cut out to be the emperor. Although he's working hard, he's getting further and further away." "Then who has hope? Don't tell me you're going to say King Chung? King and has an imperial crown prince." Chuli smiled. King Ping was surprised. Chuli could not help but laugh. "It seems that your Royal Highness is not well informed about the fairy's capital. You don't even know that King and has an imperial crown prince?" King Ping said thoughtfully, "Don't tell me that I'm going to support a child to be the emperor." Chuli said, "Your Royal Highness, you can think about it." Since King Ping did not know Su An's identity, he did not want to say more. As for what would happen in the future, no one could say for sure. He had planted a seed first. Whether it could sprout in the future depended on the situation. Chapter 737. He had never thought about this. From his point of view, there were only two possible successors to the throne. It was either King Jing or him. The others were delusional. It was impossible for King and to be the successor. In terms of morals and martial arts, he did not have an advantage in either. Chu Li's words had opened a door for him. Although it was somewhat absurd, there were many absurd things in the world. Experts could often turn the impossible into the possible. If King and son succeeded the throne would be unstable and someone would be needed to protect it. If he did not want King Jing, King Chung, and the other imperial uncles to kick him out of power, he would have to become the key to stabilizing the sea. This thought only flashed across his mind for a moment before disappearing. The current situation was the most favorable for King Jing. Letting King and son inherit the throne was out of reach. "Your Royal Highness, have you ever wondered why these 10 Azuras were mobilized?" Chuli asked. "Could it be a sign that the Li dynasty is about to invade the south?" "Yes, it's very possible." King Ping nodded. Chuli nodded. "They'll first dampen the morale of the army. Then, they'll be able to save a lot of energy when they send their troops over. As far as I know, the military strength of the Li dynasty is constantly increasing. It's really not a good thing for the Ji dynasty. I'm just waiting for them to come." King Ping scoffed. Chuli said, "Your Royal Highness, you must be careful of assassinations by martial arts masters. The Holy Church of Light is becoming more and more rampant. Since they dared to attack the High Duke's public house, they are capable of anything. He understood King Ping's desire for battle. King Ping's value as a marshal could only be demonstrated when a great battle was imminent. Only then would his position be more stable. If the Great Li dynasty was weak, his position as the commander-in-chief would no longer exist. He would have been summoned back to Luoyang long ago, stripped of his military power, and retired in peace. King Ping nodded. "I'll be careful and keep my guard up against them." Chu Li said no more. It was enough for him to give King Ping a reminder. If he said more, King Ping would be disgusted. Chu Li was driving a horse carriage, walking slowly on the main road. The carriage was extremely old and had been exposed to the elements for a long time. It looked like it was about to fall apart. It had been 2 days since he left the West Borderline military camp. This horse carriage was a gift from the West Borderline military camp. It carried 10 azuras. According to King Ping, they did not deserve to sit in a good horse carriage. He planned to send these 10 azuras to the Amethyst Mountain. The Amethyst Mountain had already received the news and sent their disciples over. He suddenly stopped the carriage and smiled. Sure enough, the Holy Church of Light had not given up on this group of azuras and had sent people over to rescue them. There was still a traitor in the Shijiang military who knew his route. There was no way to avoid traitors unless he could walk through every corner of the Shijiang military camp and look into the minds of every soldier. But if he wanted to look through the minds of 100,000 soldiers, he would definitely be exhausted to death. He definitely wouldn't put in so much effort. He drove the carriage to the side of the road, tied the reins, and suddenly disappeared. He appeared in front of the 4 middle-aged men. Without saying a word, he waved his sword and stabbed. The 7 forms of godly sword had been combined with the cloud slashing sword technique. Its power was overbearing. As the heavenly demonic orb landed on Chu Li's precordium, he felt a sudden surge of power, causing the speed of his sword to increase by several notches. In an instant, the orb had reached the throat of a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man suddenly retreated, but he was not faster than Chu Li's sword. Chi! The sword pierced his throat. Old Pang. Junior Brother Pang. Brother Pang. The other 3 middle-aged men roared and rushed towards Chu Li. Chu Li disappeared in a flash and reappeared behind another tall middle-aged man, thrusting his sword again. Ding! A saber blocked in front of the sword. The middle-aged man held the saber horizontally in front of his throat and staggered a step back. The other 2 men attacked Chu Li at the same time, one with a fist and the other with a sword. These 4 men's cultivation levels were extremely high. They were here to deal with Chu Li, so they naturally had a chance of winning. They did not expect Chu Li's martial arts to be so strange. He used a secret skill to suddenly appear and ambush one of them, turning the 4 of them into 3. Chu Li suddenly disappeared. The heavenly demonic orb condensed in his precordium again. He sat cross-legged on a tree and used the nature restoration manifestation and the omniscient mirror at the same time to observe the 3 men 5 miles away. When they saw Chu Li disappear, they quickly turned around and gathered together to save the middle-aged man. After consuming the spirit medicine, the middle-aged man's breathing stabilized. His face was pale and gloomy. He was injured in one move and almost died. He could not resist the sword at all. This made him feel a little disappointed, but he also felt humiliated and angry. Brother Pang, this guy lives up to his name. He's very difficult. Let's call a few more people over. A thin middle-aged man said. We said we're going to kill him, but in the end, he's going to kill us. That's right. The round-faced man beside him nodded. The middle-aged man's throat was stabbed, and the sword force was still lingering around the wound. He could not suppress it. He faintly felt that he was in danger. If this went on, he would not be able to withstand the sword force. He waved his hand and made a hand gesture. You want us to channel our energy to help you heal? The round-faced man asked. The middle-aged man nodded. Junior Brother Pang, let me help you. The short and fat middle-aged man who had been quiet all this while said. He sat behind him and placed his palms on his back. The other 2 middle-aged men stood on either side of him and looked around. Their bodies were tense as they guarded against Chu Li's reappearance. Chu Li's nature restoration manifestation was analyzing their thoughts and looking for an opening to kill them in one hit. After a while, white steam rose from the top of the short and fat middle-aged man's head. The other two middle-aged men became even more tense and vigilant, afraid that Chuli would appear. Chuli suddenly appeared and pierced the short and fat middle-aged man's back with his sword. The tip of the sword appeared in front of his heart and then disappeared. The short and fat middle-aged man spat out a mist of blood, drenching the back of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood into the sky and fell limply. Chuli's sword was steady and accurate. The short and fat middle-aged man was fully focused on helping his companion channel his energy to heal. When he was stabbed in the chest, his breathing became chaotic. The middle-aged man was at the most critical moment. His breathing was disrupted, and he failed at the last moment. Under the violent backlash, the sword force instantly pierced through his brain, and he instantly fainted. Brother Pang, Brother Xia. The two men were shocked. They quickly stood back to back and stared at their surroundings. Let's each carry one person. Let's go, the thin middle-aged man said. The two men each carried one person on their back and shot out like a wisp of smoke. Chuli appeared out of thin air and silently pointed two of his fingers forward. The two spear finger strikes drifted over like a breeze. The next moment, Chuli appeared 100 meters away from them. He stood with his sword and stared at them coldly. The two men were instantly on guard. The warning signs kept ringing in their hearts. They suddenly froze. The two spear finger strikes hit them. Under Chuli's intentional misdirection, they mistook the warning signs of the spear finger strikes for Chuli. As a result, they could not dodge in time. Chuli took a step forward and appeared in front of them. His sword flashed, and the two men fell to the ground with their hands on their abdomens. He looked down at the four men and said, "All of you have life-saving spirit medicine. Eat it, and I'll spare your lives today." As soon as he finished speaking, his sword flashed twice. The other two men were stabbed in their abdomens, and their martial arts were crippled. Under the resentful gazes of the three men, Chuli floated away. He was delighted. The manifestation of nature restoration had improved, and he had a better grasp of the situation. He could fight with more ease. He did not increase his cultivation level, but his strength. After walking 300 meters, he turned around and said, "Come out." Three young men walked out of the forest, and Fizz saluted. "Junior brother Chu." Chuli glanced at them and smiled. "Greetings, senior brothers. Please follow me." Chapter 738. Gung Huarong was ugly but very talkative. He smiled. "Junior brother Chu, we didn't get to know each other after a fight. I didn't think we'd really become a family." Chuli nodded. "Life is unpredictable. I've offended you all." Gung Huarong waved his hand. "We were still enemies back then. Of course we had to be ruthless." Chuli smiled. "Same to you." He went to the carriage and opened it, revealing 10 Azuras inside. Their injuries were mostly healed. Chuli said, "Their acupuncture points are sealed every 2 hours." "Understood." Gung Huarong smiled. "We've been warned so many times. We'll definitely send them back to the mountain." Sigh. "They're even more precious than us." Chuli smiled. "If the sect wants to improve, they're a key. It's up to us if we can grasp the opportunity." Sigh. Gung Huarong shook his head. "In my opinion, who cares about the Azuras? We should focus on our own martial arts. We haven't even mastered our martial arts yet. Why bother with these crooked ways?" Chuli smiled. "The sect has no choice but to do so. All right, I have a letter here. Please help me pass it to Master, Senior Brother Gung." "No problem, I'll deliver it." Gung Huarong smiled. "But we didn't expect you to join the Nature Manifestation Peak. We thought it was the Phantom Een Peak." Chuli could see through the Phantom Een skill, so he was the best cultivator for it. Yet, he chose to cultivate the Nature Restoration Manifestation instead of the Phantom Een skill. What a waste. Chuli said, "The Nature Restoration Manifestation is more magical. The power of the Phantom Een skill is limited." Gung Huarong looked at the other three and shook his head helplessly. "Brothers, hurry up. Be careful of the Holy Church of Light," Chuli said. Of course. Gung Huarong nodded. They had just witnessed the battle between Chu Li and the four grandmasters. The four masters seemed powerless in front of Chu Li. In fact, their cultivation level was not much weaker than Chu Li. It was just that Chu Li's body movement technique was strange, and he was good at scheming, so he had the upper hand. If it was them, they could only run for their lives if they met the four masters. Qing Yun Town, a bright moon hung in the sky. Its moonlight sprinkled over the courtyard like water. Chu Li and Xiao Shi sat at the stone table, playing chess. Yang Su and Menglan were at the other side of the courtyard, helping Chu Li clean up his house. "What's up with you today?" Xiao Shi put down a black chess piece and said lazily, "You actually have the mood to play chess with me." Chu Li smiled and said, "Tension and relaxation is the way of the martial arts. I've been too busy recently, and I'm feeling impatient. It's time for me to calm down." The Azuras were mostly killed. His manifestation of nature restoration had improved significantly, and his all-knowing sutra had also become strong enough. There was no need for him to be in a hurry to cultivate and kill. Xiao Shi glanced at him and shook her head. "Are you nervous?" Chu Li's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect Xiao Shi to know him so well that she could tell. Xiao Shi tilted her head and looked at him. Her eyes were as deep as the abyss as she sized him up. There are many things in this world that can make you nervous. It's about my younger sister, right?" Chu Li smiled bitterly. Xiao Shi asked, "Have you mastered the manifestation of nature restoration?" "I want to try," Chu Li said. Xiao Shi pursed her lips and smiled. "Then try. What's there to be nervous about?" Chu Li sighed and shook his head. Xiao Shi said, "If it doesn't work, then continue cultivating. With your aptitude, there's no martial arts that you can't cultivate." Chu Li sighed. "I'm just afraid that my manifestation of nature restoration won't be able to match up to Lady Xiao Shi's." "That's a problem." Xiao Shi pondered and nodded. "Why don't we think of a way to divert attention and stop her from cultivating?" "That's not a bad idea." Chu Li smiled. Xiao Shi pondered for a while and nodded. "How about this? You don't have to do it. I'll do it. I'll write a letter to my younger sister and ask her to come over and be my protector. Just say that the Holy Church of Light is going wild and might assassinate me. Let her protect me for a while." "Good idea," Chu Li exclaimed. Xiao Shi said, "Once she comes to the imperial residence, I'll pester her and stop her from cultivating." "Thank you, Lady Xiao Shi." Chu Li closed fists, saluted, and smiled. Xiao Shi glanced at him and scoffed. "You're usually so majestic and arrogant. Why are you an idiot when it comes to my younger sister? What's there to be nervous about? She's just a normal woman." Chu Li laughed and nodded. "You're right, lady. I can't stand it." Xiao Shi rolled her eyes at him and said, "I'm worried for you. If it were me, I wouldn't have let her cultivate the regal sword scripture. This wouldn't have happened." Chu Li said, "I can't just care about myself and ignore the lady's feelings." You care about her too much," Xiao Shi said snappily. "You care about her all the time, and what happens in the end?" Chu Li nodded and smiled. "Lady is right. It's your turn now. If you show me even 1% of what you're capable of, my younger sister would have broken through her inner state." Xiao Shi scoffed and put down another black chess piece. Chu Li smiled, but did not say anything. Xiao Shi thought that he was a yes man in front of the third lady, but she was wrong. He was just as strong in front of the third lady. It was just that he was not domineering enough when it came to her cultivating the regal sword scripture. This was also because of his memories from his past life. His attitude towards women was different from the men in this world. He was more equal and respectful. "I'm starting to feel like eating the spirit fruits from the spirit crane's peak." Xiao Shi sighed. "I haven't been there for a long time." Chu Li laughed. It's only been a few days. He had been busy with the war at the G public house and chasing after Azura. He did not have the time to bring Xiao Shi to the Spirit Crane's Peak. "Not long enough?" Xiao Shi asked. Chu Li said, "I'll go get a few fruits. Let's go tomorrow. It's dangerous at night." "Forget it then. We'll talk about it tomorrow," Xiao Shi said. Chu Li disappeared in a flash. A moment later, he was holding a few tender yellow fruits the size of an apple. Seosha rolled her eyes at him and took one. Chuli said, I'll be going to lead Dynasty soon. Seosha put the fruit in her mouth down and frowned. What are you going to do now? Find out about the Holy Church of Light. Do you want to die? We'll start from the outer layer. Take it step by step and see which layer we can reach. So you're going to be a traitor? Yes. Chuli nodded. You're a centurion, a rank 1 scribe, and a head chief. Why are you going to the lead dynasty to be a traitor? Seosha said impatiently. Are you out of your mind? Chuli sighed. It's not just for the G dynasty. It's for others, but also for myself. Seosha said. You're annoyed that they keep on assassinating you? Chuli nodded. If we don't get rid of their thoughts, they'll never stop and you won't be able to live. I'm used to it. Seosha scoffed. Assassinations are quite interesting. Chuli laughed. Seosha said. How do you want to get rid of their thoughts? Find their weakness. Chuli said. Seosha was surprised. You want to destroy the Holy Church of Light? Chuli said. I have to try. How dare you? Seosha scoffed. But I like it. Let's do it. Chuli was surprised. He did not expect her to say that. Seosha said. The Holy Church of Light isn't that easy to destroy. Otherwise, it would have been destroyed many times. It's as old as the Tempest Temple. Who knows how many martial arts masters there are in the church? Chuli nodded slowly. Seosha said, I can't help you with martial arts. I can only help you with ideas. All right, I'll have to trouble you when the time comes. What about Kingin? Seosha asked. You're not going to kill him? It's not time yet. Chuli shook his head. I really hope he'll die from internal demons. Seosha scoffed. Chapter 739. P.S. Update complete. Morning. The chirping of birds was crisp and clear. The air at Spirit Crane's Peak was exceptionally fresh. Taking a breath was as if it could penetrate one's heart and drive away all the impurities in one's organs. Seosha sat under a tree and breathed in the fresh air of Spirit Crane's Peak. She felt lighter and more comfortable, as if she was a bird that was about to fly away. She glanced at Chuli, who was fighting with the 2 spirit cranes, and continued to breathe. The sky was blue and the clouds were white. The sky here was exceptionally blue, as if it had been washed by water. The clouds were thick and dense, like real cotton floating in the air, not moving for a long time. Chuli played with the 2 spirit cranes for a while. He took out a scroll and opened it. It was a drawing of a ferocious tiger. The 2 spirit cranes scanned it with their bright black eyes and immediately retreated, letting out a clear cry. Chuli saw the real spirit tiger in their minds. At the peak of a towering mountain, a huge spirit tiger was standing on a boulder at the top of the mountain and howled at the sky. The howl was so real. The 2 cranes were flying in the sky. When they heard the howl, their blood boiled and all the energy in their body disappeared. They fell down. If it wasn't for their parents who saw the situation and quickly caught them and flew away, they would have been swallowed by the spirit tiger. The majestic appearance of the spirit tiger was still etched in their minds. Just thinking about it made them shiver, and they did not dare to go near it. They also warned Chuli not to go near it, or else he would be eaten. They were very smart and realized that Chuli could understand their howls. Chuli pondered and smiled as he kept the scroll. He sat cross-legged on a boulder and visualized the white tiger in his mind. The white tiger in his mind was different from before. He replaced the spirit tiger in the minds of the 2 cranes with the original white tiger. The sun-cultivating white tiger portrait's aura became stronger. 2 hours later, he slowly stopped. The sun-cultivating white tiger portrait advanced a level and his body became stronger. However, it was a pity that it was extremely difficult for him to improve further. After all, he had not experienced the spirit tiger for himself. Furthermore, there might be some problems with his cultivation technique as well. He had almost reached the peak, and he needed a better cultivation technique before he could continue tempering his body. If he could personally stay by the spirit tiger's side and observe their postures and experience their essence, just like how he was by the spirit crane side now, he should be able to cultivate the sun-cultivating white tiger portrait to perfection. Then, he could cultivate the spirit crane technique to perfection. He might even have a chance to become an enlightened master. He quickly retreated and avoided the sleeve. Chee! A clear whistle was heard. The wind from the sleeve swept past him and landed on the wall behind him. It left a deep mark as if it was slashed by a knife. His sleeve was a sneak attack. Zhu Tianhua cursed in his mind. He said coldly, "Despicable! You are indeed smart." The handsome young man shook his head and laughed. "But no matter how smart you are, it is useless if you are not skilled in martial arts. Let's not be courteous with him. Since he wants to kill us, let's attack him together." Lu Xing said in a low voice. Xiang Fei Shue and Hui Yuhao rushed towards the handsome young man with him. "Oomph!" Senior Pu scoffed. He took a step forward and blocked their path. He threw a punch. Bang! Hui Yuhao flew backwards and crashed heavily into the wall. Hui Yuhao spat out a mouthful of blood. He slid down the wall and sat at the foot of the wall. "Old Hua, are you dead?" Lu Xing shouted. Hui Yuhao said weakly, "I won't die. I don't have the energy to fight anymore." "Useless." Lu Xing scoffed. He and Xiang Feishue relied on their speed to fight with a middle-aged man named Pu. They could still hold on for a while. Zhu Tianhua was forced to retreat step by step. He was about to retreat into the shadows at the corner of the wall. The handsome young man was at ease. He was like a cat playing with a mouse. As he fought, he teased, "You grew so big for nothing. You are useless. Your cultivation level is too low. You don't have a good aptitude, right? When a person grows big, they are either stupid or stupid." Zhu Tianhua scoffed. "At least I'm better than a little shorty like you." The young man was handsome. He was just a little short. He only reached Zhu Tianhua's shoulder. The handsome young man's smile froze. Then his face darkened. "All right, if I don't kill you today, I will change my surname to yours. I don't have a son like you." Zhu Tianhua pouted. The handsome young man said coldly, "You have a father like me. Big guy, how you want to die?" "I want you to die." Zhu Tianhua scoffed. "You look all right. It's just that you are too talkative. You're like an old lady. Annoying. Which woman can stand it? You are looking for death." The handsome young man was furious. "Go and die." He waved both of his palms and attacked Zhu Tianhua at lightning speed. Zhu Tianhua suddenly rolled on the ground. He awkwardly avoided the two palms. Xiao Sun was furious. He turned around and wanted to chase after him. Suddenly, a palm appeared from the shadows at the corner of the wall. It was sudden and fast. Xiao Sun was gathering all his strength to chase after Zhu Tianhua. When he was alerted, the palm had already pressed against his back. Boom! The muffled sound of thunder could be heard. Xiao Sun's body suddenly froze. Boom! The second palm was aimed at the handsome young man's back. Chapter 740. Rumble. A muffled sound rang out in the distance like a muffled thunder. This palm was fast and ruthless, and its power was astonishing. Dong! It was as though a bronze bell had been struck. The middle-aged man's expression remained unchanged, and he merely took a step back. A middle-aged man appeared from the shadows. He looked like a simple farmer with a bitter face, as if his life was very difficult. There were too many worries and hardships that made him frown. Anyone who looked at him would feel worried for him. He was the disciple of the Amethyst Mountain, Zhao Jiang. Zhu Tianhua floated to Zhao Jiang's side and said, "Senior Zhao, be careful of that guy, he's very cunning." Zhao Jiang nodded. "Frivolous on the outside, cunning on the inside. I can see." Xiao Sun's handsome face turned serious as he scoffed. "You are a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain." Zhao Jiang nodded. "Yes. The Amethyst Mountain is one of the 4 major sects, yet a disciple of yours is here as a protector of an imperial residence. Isn't this a disgrace to the Amethyst Mountain?" Xiao Sun smiled as he shook his head. "I really feel ashamed for the Amethyst Mountain. You're getting worse and worse." "You don't have to worry about that," Zhao Jiang said calmly. "You're a disciple of the Li Dynasty's Iron Sleeve clan, right? As expected of the Amethyst Mountain, they know the Li Dynasty very well." Xiao Sun chuckled. Zhao Jiang said, "You're bringing trouble to your own sect. Do you know that? If you offend Chief Chu, I'll go to Dali and destroy your sect. Ha ha, how arrogant. Little Sun laughed loudly, but his eyes flickered. Zhao Jiang turned to look at the middle-aged man. You're a disciple of the Li dynasty's Golden Bell clan, right? Don't tell me you're saying that I'm also causing trouble for the Golden Bell sect. Zhao Jiang nodded. That's right. Chief Chu can't do anything to the Holy Church of Light, but it'll be a piece of cake for him to take care of your sections. There are only 2 or 3 disciples like you in the Golden Bell faction, so killing them will be a piece of cake. Little Sun is right. You really do have a big mouth. The middle-aged man named Pu said coldly. Zhao Jiang scoffed. You won't shed a tear until you see your coffin. How dare you assassinate His Highness in the fairy's capital with your meager abilities? What a joke. Then I'll have to give it a try. Little Sun harumphed indignantly. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his long sleeves. Chi! A light whistling sound was heard, as if a saber chi had slashed across. Zhao Jiang flicked his finger. Puff! With a muffled sound, the sleeve energy turned into a gentle breeze, and everyone's clothes fluttered. Xiao Sun's heart trembled, but he maintained a cold smile on his face. He pulled out a folding fan from his waist. The fan was made of white jade, and the surface was made of white silk. 2 characters were written on it, Lu Yun. He gently waved his fan. Suddenly, there was a chi sound, and the wind from the fan whistled out. It was like a mournful scream, and the sleeve force was even fiercer than before. Flowing cloud fan. Zhao Jiang snorted and fiercely waved his sleeve. Pop! The 2 forces collided like a pebble being thrown into a lake. A gust of wind suddenly appeared, causing everyone's clothes to flutter loudly. What kind of sleeve technique is this? Little Sun asked with a frown. Iron wall sleeve. Zhao Jiang said. What does it compare to your iron sleeve technique? As expected of the Amethyst Mountain, Xiao Sun said coldly. But in terms of sleeve technique, it's still our iron sleeve faction. He clenched his teeth and waved his fan, causing shrill whistles to ring out. Zhao Jiang only responded with the iron wall sleeve. After a dozen moves, Little Sun's face darkened. He took a deep breath, and his handsome face flushed red. Then he waved his sleeve. Whoosh! A gust of wind suddenly rose, as if a mountain torrent was born from his sleeve. It poured down and crashed fiercely toward Zhao Jiang. Zhao Jiang flicked his finger. Bang! There was a muffled explosion, and a gust of wind blew everywhere. Everyone squinted their eyes and saw a hole in Little Sun's sleeve. What kind of martial art is this? Little Sun gritted his teeth, and his eyes were spitting fire. Zhao Jiang said, terminating finger. Little Sun turned to look at Senior Pooh. Although he had a secret skill, he could not win this fight. If he used his secret skill, the opponent would also use his secret skill. The Amethyst Mountain's secret skill would only be stronger than the Iron Sleeve factions, and he had no chance of winning. Senior Pooh said calmly, as expected of the Amethyst Mountain, you have a strong foundation and countless martial arts. But no matter how many martial arts you have, it's better to be proficient in one. Even if you have 360 martial arts, I only need to take the Golden Bell technique to counter all your martial arts. Zhao Jiang nodded. The Golden Bell faction is strong, but do you really think you can block my Heaven's Thunder Palm? Why not try? Senior Pooh scoffed. Zhao Jiang shook his head and sighed. Come out. Suddenly, 3 people appeared from the shadows and stood in front of Senior Pooh. Zhao Jiang said, how many Heaven's Thunder Palm can you block? Senior Pooh's face darkened. He had a unique talent, and he had cultivated the Golden Bell technique to perfection and could block the terrifying power of the Heaven's Thunder Palm. However, the Heaven's Thunder Palm was the top antique study of the Amethyst Mountain, and he could only block 3 to 4 palm strikes. The Amethyst Mountain's Heaven's Thunder Palm was shocking, and the inner energy consumption was also shocking. His opponent could only use 2 or 3 palm strikes, and he had the upper hand. Hence, he was confident that even if he could not defeat Chu Li this time, he would make him lose. As long as he could kill the protectors in front of him, his position in the Holy Church of Light would rise. The high officials of the Holy Church of Light were also divided into 9 ranks. He was rank 6, and Xiao Sun was only rank 8. If he could kill the protectors of the imperial residence of King, and he would at least be promoted to rank 1. The Holy Church of Light had already issued a kill order, and all high officials were allowed to come to the Jit dynasty to assassinate Chu Li. If they succeeded, they would be promoted to rank 1 high official. Unfortunately, things did not always go as one wished. When he saw the 3 people appear from the shadows, his heart sank. The Phantom Een skill. These 3 people were also disciples of the Amethyst Mountain. Xiao Sun sneered and said, "The Amethyst Mountain is such a disgrace. How dare you send 4 disciples to the imperial residence of King and as protectors? How embarrassing. You should think of a way to escape." Zhao Jiang scoffed. "The imperial residence of King and is not a place where you can come and go as you please. All right, I want to see what the Amethyst Mountain is capable of." Xiao Sun scoffed. He was ready to go all out. He knew that he would not be able to escape if he did not put his life on the line. His aura suddenly changed, and it was as if an ancient man wearing a tall hat appeared in front of everyone. His sleeves fluttered in the wind, and his aura was majestic. Bang! Zhu Tianhua threw a punch, trying to stop him from casting the secret skill. Bang! Xiao Sun flicked his sleeves lightly, and Zhu Tianhua was sent flying. He crashed into the wall, slid down, and sat limply beside Hui Yuhao. Hui Yuhao turned to look at him and smiled bitterly. Zhao Jiang pointed at Xiao Sun and Senior Pu. "Use your secret skill. I'll hold this one back. The 3 of you take him down." Their figures flashed and became faintly discernible, as if they were shadows reflected in front of everyone. They split into 2 groups, and each group pounced on one person. They were unpredictable and as fast as lightning. Zhao Jiang attacked Xiao Sunday, bang, 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 bang. Xiao Sun desperately waved his sleeves, trying to escape, but his body movement technique was not as fast as Zhao Jiang, and he was always forced back. Lu Xing and Xiang Feishue also cast their secret skills and attacked Xiao Sunday. After a while, Xiao Sun suddenly let out a long howl, and his clothes bulged like a balloon, forcefully withstanding a heaven's thunderpalm. He ran straight away and disappeared into the night in the blink of an eye. Zhao Jiang did not chase after him. It would be difficult for him to survive a heaven's thunderpalm, and even if he managed to escape, he would not live long. He pounced on the middle-aged man with the surname Pu. One could vaguely see a golden light flickering on his skin. The middle-aged man with the surname Pu had a solemn expression on his face. He did not care about the attacks from the 4 people from the Amethyst Mountain, and his fists kept throwing out heavy and fast punches. Lu Xing could not dodge in time, and took a punch. He also joined Zhu Tianhua and the others. Chapter 741. Hui Yuhao said, "Senior Zhao and the others can handle it. Asking the head chief for help so easily, we are too useless." Lu Xing scoffed. As he spoke, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Even though Zhang Xian had used a secret art to strengthen his body, the middle-aged man had also used a secret art, causing his fists to wield incredible might. Being struck by the hammer felt as if he had been struck by a huge bell, and his body felt as if it was on the verge of collapsing. The middle-aged man's fist force was amazing. After hitting his body, the fist force spread like a bell and instantly reached his entire body. It was impossible to defend against. He could only defend his vital parts while the rest of his body was injured. Although it was not fatal, it was troublesome. He would probably need to rest for half a month. Hui Yuhao smiled bitterly. "There's nothing we can do. The people the head chief offended are all powerful people. We were lucky to have the help of the seniors from Amethyst Mountain," Zhu Tianhua said. Hui Yuhao and Lu Xing nodded helplessly. They were originally prodigies, but when they met the head chief in the imperial residence of King, they fell from grace. They initially thought that the head chief was a rare powerhouse, but after staying in the imperial residence of King, they realized that there were many powerhouses stronger than them. Even if they cultivated with all their might, they could not catch up and could not be independent. This made them very uncomfortable and they could only cultivate even harder. Dong 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 dong. 4 bells rang at the same time. Zhao Jiang and the other 3 used their heaven's thunder palm to hit the middle-aged man. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the golden light on his skin dimmed. He turned around and left. Dong 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 dong. Another 4 heavens thunder palm landed. The middle-aged man slowly collapsed. Zhao Jiang and the other 3 looked around. 2 of them stopped their secret skills while the other 2 remained. He's a powerful person. Zhao Jiang shook his head. Too bad he came to the imperial residence of King and he chose to die. Zhao Jiang looked at Zhu Tianhua and the other 2. Are you okay? Zhu Tianhua and the other 2 quickly shook their heads. Hurry up and heal. We might have more guests. Zhao Jiang said. Yes. Zhu Tianhua and the other 2 entered the house. Qi Zimo chuckled. Brother Zhao, it seems like this junior has caused quite a bit of trouble. No wonder he wrote us a letter to ask for our help. It was all right this time. Zhao Jiang's eyebrows were still tightly knitted together. It might not be so easy next time. They were completely restrained in front of Chu Li, but in front of others, they were awe-inspiring. After all, the antique study of the Amethyst Mountain was superior to others. Qi Zimo came to a small tree in the corner of the courtyard and said with a smile, Do you think junior brother will really appear if this tree is cut down? Don't mess around. This kind of tree must be very precious. If you cut it down, there will be one less. Zhao Jiang snorted. I just feel that it's too dangerous. Could it be that they're trying to trick us? Qi Zimo's heart was itching. Zhao Jiang scoffed. Little junior brother is not that kind of person. Why don't we give it a try? Qi Zimo suggested. Zhao Jiang glared at him and walked up to the middle-aged man named Pu. Crippling your martial arts and banishing you from the public house is a mercy on us. You can only blame yourself for being stupid. As soon as he finished speaking, he slammed his palm on the abdomen of the middle-aged man with the surname Pu. Ignoring the resentful look in his eyes, he carried him out of the imperial residence of King, and Chu Li appeared in the snow lunar pavilion's surpassing boundary. Xiao Qi sat by the lake, as usual. She wore a flawless white tunic, and it was as if her entire body was in harmony with the lake water. Her heart was as clear as the lake water, reflecting everything but leaving no trace. Everything was like a passing cloud that was ultimately empty. Chu Li stood in the distance and looked at Xiao Qi. He activated the nature restoration manifestation. He could see that her state of mind was calm, without any distracting thoughts. All of her energy was focused on her sword. The long sword on her knees was like a part of her body, completely integrated with her. Her thoughts were also like a long sword that had been sheathed, completely restrained and without a trace of fluctuation. Suddenly, Chu Li appeared 3 steps in front of her. Xiao Qi's clear eyes quietly fell on him. Her eyebrows were slightly furrowed. Chu Li felt a ripple in her heart. Why are you here again? Xiao Qi frowned and asked. Chu Li replied, I came to deliver a letter. Where's the letter? Xiao Qi looked at him quietly. Chu Li took out the letter and handed it over. Xiao Qi's delicate hand reached out to receive the letter. Just as she was about to touch the letter, Chu Li moved forward and their fingers touched. A cool and warm feeling spread to the bottom of Chu Li's heart. He activated the nature restoration manifestation to the extreme and saw that her heart rippled again. Then it calmed down as if it was suppressed by a strong force. She did not even look at him. Chu Li looked at her and thought about how to break through her state of mind and find her fatal weakness. Xiao Qi opened the letter and looked down at it. She quickly folded it and stuffed it back into the envelope. She said, Okay, I understand. You can leave now. Chu Li asked, Do you agree? Xiao Qi shook her head. I'm in isolated cultivation. It's a critical moment. Second eldest sister has you by her side. There's no need for me to go. Chu Li said, I have to leave for a while. I can't take care of the second lady. What is it? Xiao Qi asked. Chu Li said, I'm going to the Holy Church of Light as a spy to find their weakness. Xiao Qi furrowed her brows and said, Nonsense. Chu Li could feel the shock in her heart. He continued, The Holy Church of Light and I are enemies now. If I don't die, they'll continue to hunt me down. There's no end to their masters. I'll die in their hands sooner or later. Since that's the case, I can only strike first." Shao Qi frowned. "Why are you enemies with the Holy Church of Light?" "I killed many of their masters." Chu Li said. "They came to the Ji dynasty to stir up trouble. I couldn't stand it, so I killed them." "You can't change your bad habit of being a busybody." Shao Qi frowned and looked at him unhappily. Chu Li smiled. "What's the point of learning martial arts if I can't serve the country and the people and protect the people around me?" Shao Qi took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in her heart again. "Are you really going?" Chu Li nodded. "You'll go even if I object?" Shao Qi looked at him with her bright eyes. Chu Li nodded. Shao Qi's heart trembled. She bit her lower lip and tried hard to suppress the shock in her heart again. She said, "All right, I'll go to second eldest sister's side." Chu Li smiled. "That's good." He was a little melancholic, but excited. The nature restoration manifestation was indeed extraordinary. Although he could only feel the fluctuation in her heart, it was powerful enough. At least he knew which words would cause her emotions to fluctuate and which words would not affect her. Unfortunately, the nature restoration manifestation was not profound enough. His senses were not sharp enough, and he could not predict her reaction. It seemed like he needed to go deeper. As long as his level was deep enough, he might be able to break her state of mind with just a few words. Through the nature restoration manifestation, he realized that it was best to have more contact with her to break her state of mind. He used the nature restoration manifestation to find the pattern of her reaction and make her heart constantly fluctuate. The quantitative change would lead to a qualitative change and finally break her state of mind. Although he failed this time, he was greatly encouraged. It seemed like he was on the right path to cultivate the nature restoration manifestation. He must continue to cultivate it. "If there's nothing else, then leave," Shao Qi said. Chu Li smiled. "My lady, when will you go?" "Now?" Shao Qi frowned. Chu Li said, "I'm preparing to enter the Li dynasty in half a month." "My lady, you can go after that." Go ahead," Shao Qi said. Chapter 742. Let Young Qi go to the imperial residence of King and Shunning, who stretched her body, forming a beautiful curve, showing off her graceful body. You finally did something right." They sat in the gazebo on the crescent lake. The lake water was clear. They could see the fish swimming in the lake and the water plants floating in the water. If she continues to cultivate in isolation, she will only get further away. Chu Li said, "Senior Shun, you should go with her." "Me?" Shinning, who was stunned. Then she pursed her lips and smiled. "You really dare to think. Why should I go?" Chu Li said, I guess the masters from the Holy Church of Light will continue to assassinate. With Senior Shin here, I can rest assured." "Forget about me." Shunning, who gently waved her hand and said lazily, "I'm old. I don't want to suffer anymore. I'm fine here." Chu Li looked at her deeply. "Senior Shun, do you want to be alone for the rest of your life?" "Only what?" Shunning, who shook her head and smiled. "Can a woman live without a man? Pavilion leader and my 2 senior sisters are all alone. They don't need a man. They live more freely." Chu Li said, "Senior Shin still can't let go of that man, right?" "He's dead." Shunning, who glanced at him and scoffed. "How do you know?" "Last time when you were heavily injured, you said something," Chu Li said honestly. Chu Li said calmly, "I know the pain in your heart, Senior. You don't have to be like this. He doesn't deserve such deep love. If he didn't die, perhaps you would have been working hard. He's not a devoted person, Senior. You've been lying to yourself all this time." "Shut up." Shinning, whose face darkened, she said coldly. Chu Li said calmly, "Senior Shin should know that he's entangled with other women. If he's still alive, in another year or 2, he'll find another younger and prettier woman. You're asking for a beating." Shinning, who bit her red lips and stared at him, her bright eyes squinting. Chu Li smiled. "Even if I get beaten up, I'll make sure Senior Shun is completely awake. I don't need your kindness." Shinning, who snorted. "You're still a mess yourself, and you're still messing with my business." Chu Li said, "As the saying goes, the onlooker sees the game more clearly than the person involved. Others can see everything clearly, but when it's your turn, you're stuck in the game without even realizing it. You and I are the same. We can see each other more clearly. B asterisk starred. Shut up, Shining Hu said coldly. Chu Li tactfully shut his mouth and looked at her quietly. Shining Hu turned to look at the clear surface of the lake. The gazebo fell silent. After a while, Shining Hu sighed. You don't understand. Don't spout nonsense. I actually owe him a life. He risked his life to save me. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Shining Hu said, when he sacrificed himself to save me, I told myself that I would repay him for the rest of my life. Even if he had a change of heart, I would not blame him. I would continue to like him and repay him. Chu Li shook his head. A relationship between a man and a woman shouldn't be like this. What do you know about the relationship between a man and a woman? Shining Hu gave him a disdainful look. Chu Li smiled without saying a word. Without him sacrificing himself to save me, I would have been dead. What relationship is there to talk about? Shining Hu scoffed. Just because he had a change of heart, you abandoned him, turned around, and fell in love with someone else. You call that repaying him? Chu Li said, just find a chance to save him. His martial arts is much stronger than mine. Shining Hu scoffed. Chu Li shook his head. That doesn't mean there's no chance to save him. In short, there's no need to repay him with my life. I can't be bothered to talk to a heartless person like you. Shining Hu waved her hand. Chu Li smiled. If you don't go, what if the lady and the second lady are in danger? Will you feel at ease? Why wouldn't I feel at ease? Your sister only has one daughter. Chu Li smiled. Didn't she ask you to take care of the lady before she passed away? Chu Li continued. The Green Hills' vitality is greatly damaged, and they can't even take care of themselves. They don't dare to cause trouble at Snow Lunar Pavilion anymore. There's nothing to trouble you in Snow Lunar Pavilion. You'd rather stare blankly here than take care of the lady? You're such a bastard, Shining Hu said hatefully. All right, I'll go with Yang Qi. He finally grasped her weakness and knew that she was the softest. Chu Li smiled. I bought a house beside the imperial residence. You can stay there with the lady. The fairies' capital is bustling and filled with masters. You'll feel that Snow Lunar Pavilion is pitifully small, and you'll be able to put your worries aside. Don't be a busybody. If you do, I won't care about you anymore. Shining Hu scoffed. Chu Li smiled. All right, I'll make a move first. I'll wait for you in fairies' capital. Get lost. Shining Hu waved her hand. He returned to Suru's waterside pavilion and took a book to sit in front of the desk. Outside the window was sparkling waves, and a breeze caressed his face. Inside the window was a warm and pleasant place. The beautiful and gentle Suru was cultivating on the couch. A faint fragrance lingered, and his heart was at peace. Li Hanyin walked in lightly. Suru opened her eyes and looked at her. Li Hanyin had a graceful figure and a beautiful face, but the words she said were not beautiful at all. Brother Du, let's go kill someone. Chu Li put down the book and smiled. Kill who? I found two sects that deserve to be killed. One is the Titanium faction that specializes in killing and raping. The other is the Great Virtue clan that traffics children and women. They deserve to die. Li Hanyin scoffed. Chu Li said, you still chant Buddhist scriptures every day, right? Of course. Li Hanyin nodded. But they're still so murderous. Chu Li smiled. Are you sure? Of course. Li Hanyin nodded. I confirmed it a few times. I found out everything. If that's the case, they deserve to be killed. Chu Li nodded. Suru said, don't get it wrong and kill the wrong people. It's not wrong. Li Hanyin said. Chu Li pondered. All right, then let's go kill them. You guys are really... Suru said helplessly. Li Hanyin smiled. Let's call Sister Xueling along. Xueling? Chu Li said. She wants to join the fun too. Sister Xueling said that she has a body full of martial arts, but she can't use it. She's very upset. Li Hanyin smiled. I think killing people is the best way to practice martial arts. Let Sister Xueling kill a few people too. She'll be even better. Suru said. Xueling's personality is not suitable for killing. Li Hanyin smiled. Sister Su, actually killing people is not scary at all. Think about the evil things they've done and the people they've harmed. Think about how many people will be saved after they die. It's very satisfying. I don't want to see blood. Suru waved her hand. Li Hanyin said, Sister Xueling is not afraid of blood. Sigh, you guys. Suru shook her head and smiled. Chapter 743. Li Hanyin quickly said, I'll go look for Sister Xueling. She did not wait for Chu Li to reply and flew out. Suru sighed. Is she okay like this? She's too murderous. She dared to say that in the entire Snow Lunar Pavilion, Li Hanyin was the one with the most murderous intent. Not only did she not feel disgusted or guilty about killing, but she was also very excited about it. She took pleasure in killing. It was really abnormal and scary. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. It's all my fault for being too ruthless and affecting her. Let's take it slow. Then why are we still killing? Suru sighed. I'm worried that if this goes on, she'll become addicted and feel uncomfortable if she doesn't kill for a day. Chu Li chuckled. Don't laugh. Suru rolled her eyes at him. You think it's impossible? Chu Li shook his head. Suru scoffed. Didn't you hear what she said just now? Killing is a joyful thing. Thinking about how many good people she saved, she'll feel happy all over. Is this the same thinking as normal people? Chu Li smiled and nodded. I have the same thinking as her. You're right to think that way, but killing is a different matter. Suru shook her head. Anyway, you have to be careful not to raise a female devil. Chu Li raised his eyebrows and slowly nodded. Suru's worries were not unreasonable. Previously, he brought her along to kill more than 100 people. She was too stimulated at the beginning and became numb towards the end, distorting her feelings. He still had to be careful. Fortunately, Li Hanyin was a pure and kind girl. She was not cynical nor extreme. She simply wanted to kill bad people and save good people. If he suppressed her thoughts too much at this time, it would not be good. Take it slow. I'll be careful, Chu Li said. Suru nodded. Xueling followed Li Hanyin in. Master. Xueling curtsied. Chu Li smiled. Hanyin wants you to follow us to kill the Titanium faction and Virtue clan. Do you want to go? Yes. Xueling nodded lightly. Her face was like cold jade, white and flawless, beautiful yet cold. Her entire body exuded a cold aura, giving off an aura that kept people at arm's length. Even though it was a scorching summer day, it felt cold to be by her side. Chu Li muttered, Actually, there are many ways to increase one's strength. You just have to spar with others. Xueling shook her head gently and said, It's all showy, but impractical. Without actual combat, martial arts are all just for show. Back then, when I sparred with someone beside Master, it was not a real fight. Who told you this? I figured it out myself. My palm technique is not inferior to Brother Zhang's, but every time we fight, I'm always at a disadvantage. Xueling frowned. My cultivation level is even higher than Sister Hanyin's, but I can't defeat her. Chu Li said, With you by my side, there aren't many opportunities for you to use martial arts to fight with others. I don't want to embarrass Master, Xueling said. All right then, let's go together. Chu Li nodded slowly. The Vajra sect was located halfway up a mountain. It was a mountain peak that was 200 meters high. It was not considered big. The Vajra sect was hidden in the mountains. Not many people in the martial arts world knew about the Vajra sect, but the people around the sect knew about it. The Vajra sect sounded like a sect, but it was more like a mountain stronghold. Robbing was their second nature. If they did not rob near the Vajra mountain, they would not touch anything within 100 miles. They would usually rob from 100 miles away. They would kill the men and kidnap the women to the mountain. According to the people around the Vajra sect, the Vajra sect was extremely wealthy. The Vajra sect had 10 top-notch masters. Their strength was even higher than second-rate sections. They dominated an area within 100 miles, and no one dared to provoke them. Many martial arts heroes heard about their vile deeds and wanted to help the weak and get rid of the evil. In the end, they all died silently. The Vajra sect was still standing and no one could shake it. In the evening, 3 people came to the Vajra sect. One was a young man in a white robe, and the other two were graceful and graceful women. They were covered with white veils, revealing only their bright and beautiful eyes. They stared coldly at the Vajra sect. There was a huge decorated archway in front of the Vajra sect. The archway was made of white jade-like stone. The words Vajra sect were written on it. It was simple and unadorned. Behind the archway was a long stone staircase that led to the depths of the forest. The Vajra sect could not be seen as it was hidden by the forest. They had to walk step by step to see the true appearance of the Vajra sect. Once they stepped into the Vajra sect, they were not allowed to use their light body technique. Otherwise, they would be regarded as enemies of the Vajra sect and would be killed. Below the archway were two disciples in green with their hands on their swords. When they saw the three approaching, the two disciples in green glared at them. "Stop right there. Who are you?" Chuli had already seen the appearance of the Vajra sect. He could see the situation inside clearly. He frowned. 2 grandmasters, 8 innate masters, 62 acquired masters, and more than 50 women were gorgeously dressed. Each of them had their own courtyard. There was a cave in a mountain behind the Vajra sect that was filled with gold, silver, and jewelry. Chu Li raised his eyebrows and turned his head. "I'll leave the rest to you. All of these people, other than the women, deserve to be killed." Xueling asked. "All of them deserve to die." Chu Li nodded. He had already read each of their minds. These 50 women were abducted into the mountain. They had the people around them killed and then taken to the mountain. They had survived until now to see the retribution of these people. 2 grandmasters, 8 innate masters, and 62 acquired masters. Their hands were stained with the blood of innocent people. They deserved to be killed. "All right then, let's kill them all." Li Hanyan's eyes lit up with excitement. "I've heard of these people before. I've always wanted to destroy them." Xueling hesitated for a moment and slowly nodded. "Let's start with them." Li Hanyan scoffed and strode forward. "You're from the Vajra sect?" "That's right." "Then they deserve to die." Li Hanyan shouted. Her sword flashed and instantly pierced the throats of the 2 disciples. Her sword was so fast that the 2 disciples in green could not react in time. They clutched their throats and stared at her in disbelief before falling to the ground. Li Hanyan scoffed. "Too weak." She turned her head and said, "Sister Xueling, are these small? Vinegar, yellow partridge? Wounds? Skillful kite, smokes, jealousy, sodium, craftsman, H, vulgar cut, and decorate partridge?" Limey Fu Bao Xueling nodded. Chuli said, "Hanyan, when you're killing people, you have to control your killing intent. If you're controlled by killing intent, it'll be hard for you to think calmly. If you're controlled by the feeling of killing, your mind won't be clear." "Yes." Li Hanyan nodded vigorously. The 2 disciples in green did not have time to call the police. They calmly walked up the stairs using their light body technique. Soon, they arrived in front of a basilica. The martial arts field in front of the basilica was very lively. 62 disciples were training. When they saw the 3 of them using their light body technique, all of them stopped and glared at them. They gripped their weapons tightly in their hands. Those without weapons were also channeling their energy, ready to fight at any time. These 62 disciples were full of killing intent. Their eyes were cold. They looked down at the 3 of them, as if they were 3 lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Chu Li shook his head. "Kill them all." "Yes." Li Hanyan responded and rushed out. Chu Li turned to look at Xueling. "Each of these people has taken at least 3 innocent lives. They deserve to die." Chapter 744. P.S. Update complete. I'm really sorry. Her body movement technique was light and agile. She floated in front of a disciple in green and pressed her palm down lightly. The disciple in green saw that she was delicate and weak. He was not convinced and threw a punch at her. He wanted to fight her head-on and bully her with the strength of a man. Bang! The disciple in green fell limply to the ground. When he fell to the ground, his face had turned green as if he was frozen to death. His whole body was emitting cold air. Xue floated in front of another disciple in green and pressed her palm down. The disciple in green saw what happened to his senior and knew that her palm energy was strange. He did not dare to take it head-on and dodged it. He wanted to take advantage of the situation and attack her shoulder. He did not expect her pale little hand to suddenly change her technique and hit him in the chest. Bang! The disciple in green fell limply to the ground. His face turned green, and his body emitted cold air as if he was frozen to death. In Shue's eyes, these disciples' body movement technique was extremely clumsy, and their inner energy was extremely weak. Her darkening palm was killing one person at a time and was not any slower than Li Hanyan. Li Hanyan's sword flashed like lightning. Her footsteps were graceful and agile. She shuttled through the disciples. Wherever she passed, the sword flashed past their throats and ended their lives. After every strike, the sword energy directly locked onto their throats. Without leaving a trace of blood, the sword energy directly rushed to their heads and killed them. In the blink of an eye, 20 disciples in green fell. None of the disciples could last more than one round. It was a one-sided massacre. Li Hanyan did not hold back. The more she killed, the brighter her eyes became. If she was not controlling herself, she would have laughed out loud. Shui realized that she was not as afraid and uncomfortable as she imagined. Instead, she was unusually calm. It was as if she was not killing people, but merely stepping on ants. It was even worse than stepping on ants. Normally, she would not step on ants and would avoid them when she saw them. Faction leader! Someone screamed and rushed to the basilica. Li Hanyan and Shui ignored him. When the others saw this, they quickly rushed over. 42 disciples ran away in the blink of an eye. Li Hanyan and Shui followed behind them and rushed to the basilica together. There were 2 grandmasters and 8 innate masters sitting in the basilica. In the face of the surging disciples, they were puzzled at first. Then, they saw Li Hanyan and Shui Ling. The disciples of the Titanium clan were all men, so the 2 of them were particularly eye-catching. "Who are you?" A middle-aged man sitting in the main seat said coldly. "How dare you barge into our Titanium sect? The Vajra sect has done all sorts of evil, and today, retribution has come." Li Hanyan shouted, "How many innocent people have died in your hands? Today, I'm here to claim your lives on behalf of them. None of you can escape." "Ha, little girl, you sure talk big." The middle-aged man was handsome and had a dignified bearing. "There are many martial arts masters like you who are chivalrous, but none of them had a good ending. That's because they're not capable enough." Li Hanyan scoffed. "I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you." As soon as she finished speaking, she swung her sword and slashed a person's throat. The green-robed disciple's eyes widened. He couldn't believe that she had actually killed him in front of the sect master. "Impudent!" the middle-aged man shouted. In a flash, he weaved through the crowd with great agility and appeared in front of Li Hanyan in an instant. He threw out a punch. TSS. Li Hanyan thrust her sword forward as fast as lightning. She was a genius in martial arts. Chuli had taught her the 7 forms of godly sword. The power she displayed was astonishing, and her level of mastery was not low. Chuli was also impressed by Li Hanyan's talent in martial arts. If it wasn't for the omniscient mirror and the life and death scripture, he might not be able to match up to Li Hanyan's progress. Ding! The middle-aged man's fist accurately hit the long sword. Li Hanyan felt a great force coming from the sword and was shocked. The long sword was deflected by the force of the fist, drawing an arc in the air before stabbing out again. Ding! The middle-aged man's fist hit the long sword again. His movements were extremely fast. He slid in front of Li Hanyan in one step. His left fist was like a snake coming out of its hole, rushing out in an instant and aiming for Li Hanyan's chest. Li Hanyan stepped sideways and barely dodged it. She was a little surprised that she was no match for him. She didn't expect the sect master of the Vajra sect to be so powerful. The sect master of the Vajra sect was a powerful character. Li Hanyan might not be a match for him, but neither was she. She turned her head and realized that Chuli had not come in. Li Hanyan saw her looking around and raised her voice. "Sister, brother Du won't care. We have to rely on ourselves." "All right," Shui said. "Let's go together. You have me." A bald old man flew over and punched at her. Shui frowned and countered with her palm. Bang! The fist and palm collided in the air. Cold air burst out. Interesting, the bald old man said with a smile as he sent out another punch. Shui dodged it in a flash and appeared in front of a disciple in green. She lightly hit him with her palm. The disciple in green did not have the ability to dodge. He fell limply to the ground. His face turned green and cold air spread everywhere. It was as if he had frozen to death. Shui continued to sneak into the crowd of disciples in green. While avoiding the bald elder, she killed the disciples in green one by one with her palm. They were so frightened that they ran out of the basilica. In the blink of an eye, they ran out of the basilica. Shui chased after them and killed them one by one with her palm. They scattered and ran in different directions, so Shui could not chase after them one by one. Shui was helpless. She killed another 4, but could not catch up with the rest. The bald elder had caught up with her. Both of them exchanged blows, and it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. Shui Ling felt that her movements were calm and her mind was agile. After killing someone, the feeling of being restrained and having a brain full of moves but not knowing which move to use suddenly disappeared. She let nature take its course and attacked according to her instincts. Naturally, the power was amazing. She was not worried that Li Hanyin would lose. After all, Master was here. At most, Li Hanyin would suffer a little, but her life would not be in danger. However, Li Hanyin was restrained. She could barely hold her ground against the leader of the titanium faction. Soon, she was hit by his palm. She felt that his fist force was endless. It was like a whirlpool that kept spinning. She wanted to get rid of it, but could not. It was slippery. Unknowingly, her body was in a mess. Li Hanyin knew that unless her life was in danger, Brother Du would not help her. She could only rely on herself. Her heart skipped a beat, and she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her movements became weak. The leader of the titanium faction shook his head and smiled. While she was weak, he threw another punch. Bang! Li Hanyin flew out limply. She spat out another mouthful of blood in the air and fell heavily to the ground. Her right hand loosened, and her long sword fell to the ground. The leader of the titanium faction came to her and sighed. I really can't bear to kill a beauty like you. I'll cripple your martial arts. Stay with me. He leaned forward and patted Li Hanyin's abdomen. Swoosh! Li Hanyin suddenly reached out and grabbed the hilt of her sword. The sword flashed in front of his throat. The leader of the titanium faction held his throat in shock. He stared at her in disbelief. His eyes were filled with unwillingness as he slowly fell to the ground. Li Hanyin sidestepped him and leaped up. She scoffed proudly. She had an inner armor on her body. The inner armor could defend against inner energy and swords. She deflected 70 to 80% of the force. Although she suffered internal injuries, they were not serious. It did not affect her combat strength. Pretending to be weak was indeed effective. Chuli suddenly appeared and patted her back. He transferred a warm inner energy into her and smiled. Well done. This is a disciple of Green Deer Cliff. Green Deer Cliff? Li Hanyin was shocked. How is that possible? Chuli smiled. Why not? It's comparable to the martial arts of the Grand Masters and can be cultivated to the enlightened master's boundary. Chuli opened the fist manual and slowly flipped through it. There were a total of 6 fist forms, which were extremely simple. One look, and anyone could tell that it was a beginner fist technique without any power to speak of. Shui Ling took a look as well. She gestured to herself and shook her head. Master, is this a secret manual? Chuli smiled. The Great Way is always simple. Perhaps there's something special hidden in this fist manual. Otherwise, there's no need for him to hide here. He hid it in such an easily found and easily lost place. He didn't take this fist manual seriously, Li Hanyin said. Chuli shook his head. You guys go to the Great Virtue Clan. I'll go to the Green Deer Cliff. Master, you're not coming with us? Shui Ling quickly asked. Chuli smiled. You guys can handle it yourselves. All right. Shui Ling helplessly nodded. No matter what, without Chu Li by her side, she felt uncertain. Chu Li picked up the unconscious faction leader of the Titanium faction and disappeared in a flash before the two women. Li Han said, Sister Shui Ling, they've robbed so many things. They must still be hiding something. How about we look for them? What should we do if we find them? Leave them to the faction. That's a good idea. The two began to search the entire Titanium faction excitedly. Xiao Yueling looked at the faction leader of the Titanium faction beneath her feet and frowned. Shui-Ming? Chu Li asked. Aunt, do you know him? An Outer Cliff disciple of the Green Deer Cliff. Xiao Yueling frowned. How'd he get injured like this? I beat him up. Chu Li said. Aunt, do you know what he's done now? I haven't returned to the Green Deer Cliff for a long time. I've been here all this time. What happened to him? Xiao Yueling said. This Shui-Ming is a very talented and clever young man. In the blink of an eye, 20 years have passed. He's now the faction leader of the Titanium faction. The faction has committed all sorts of crimes, including robbery and murder. He's with another Grandmaster, 8 innate masters, and 62 acquired masters. Although they're not very influential, they're very crazy. Something like that happened. There are traitors in the Green Deer Cliff too? Chu Li was puzzled. Aren't they supposed to be indifferent? The human heart is unpredictable and difficult to control. Xiao Yueling shook her head. They grew up in the Green Deer Cliff and were isolated from the outside world. They've maintained their innocence, but when they're in their 20s, they'll become extremely impulsive. If they're not careful, they'll cause trouble. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Martial arts can't suppress one's nature. Yes. Xiao Yueling sighed. There will always be disciples who covet the prosperous life at the foot of the mountain and come out. So they're traitors? They're not considered traitors. How are we going to deal with them? Xiao Yueling replied. They can return to the mountain within 10 years. As long as they don't commit crimes, the sect will still accept them. However, they'll have to become Outer Cliff disciples and slowly work their way into the cliff. The two of them were sitting in Xiao Yueling's Taoist temple. They sat on cattail hassocks, each holding a cup of tea. The fragrance of the tea lingered in the air, and the temple was quiet and peaceful. What if they commit crimes? Chu Li asked. Then they'll be dealt with according to the rules of the cliff. They're stricter than the laws of the country outside, Xiao Yueling replied. Why didn't they deal with him? Chu Li scoffed. Do you know how many innocent people he's killed? Xiao Yueling replied. This must be an oversight on the part of the sect. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. An oversight, and so many innocent people have died. The Green Deer Cliff is really something. Xiao Yueling slowly said, No one wants to make a mistake like this, but as long as they're human, they'll make mistakes. They'll be held accountable. Then I'll leave this guy to you, Aunt. Chu Li sighed. I found a fist manual at his place. As he spoke, he took out the Spirit Crane fist manual. Xiao Yueling glanced at it and frowned. How dare he write down a fist technique? Chu Li smiled. This was written by him. The 3 words on the cover were elegant and carefree. It did not look like something the Titanium faction leader would write. The martial arts of the Green Deer Cliff are passed down through enlightenment. They don't record it on paper, Xiao Yueling replied. Who else could it be if not him? This Spirit Crane fist is the Spirit Crane technique? Chu Li asked. Xiao Yueling shook her head. Chu Li said, There are only 6 forms. It's too simple. It's a shame to the spirit of the Spirit Crane. Only when you've perfected the Spirit Crane incantation will you have a chance of deriving the Spirit Crane incantation. Chu Li said, All right, I'll try. In the evening, Chu Li arrived at the main hall of the Secret Guardians Hall. Fu Mengshan and Su Huanda were the only 2 people in the hall. Both of them had solemn expressions on their faces. Little Chu, you're finally back. Fu Mengshan waved at him. Chu Li sat in front of them. Have you found someone suitable? Fu Mengshan sighed and waved his hand. Follow me. The 2 of them brought him out from a side door and into a small courtyard. There was a young man lying in one of the rooms in the courtyard. His appearance was even a bit ugly. He looked foolish, and one could tell at a glance that he wasn't intelligent and quick-witted. He was already dead. This is one of our secret guardians. Fu Mengshan sighed and pointed at him. Chu Li frowned. What happened? He died in a scuffle between the gangs. Fu Mengshan shook his head. His aptitude is very mediocre. He usually provides us with bits and pieces of information. People like him don't attract attention easily. Didn't he sneak into the Holy Church of Light? Chu Li asked. Fu Mengshan said, We haven't sent anyone into the Holy Church of Light for the past few years. Our efforts have been in vain. Su Huanda said, His name is Zhao Dai. He's currently an associate of the Chivalry Association. His martial arts isn't strong enough, so he didn't make a name for himself. Fu Mengshan scoffed. 2 days ago, the Chivalry Association and the Ferric Blood Association were in a scuffle at the top of the mountain. He was thrown down the cliff. We went through a lot of trouble to find him. The Chivalry Association. Chu Li frowned. Fu Mengshan said, The Chivalry Association is just a small association in Peacetown of Luo State City. However, it has some connections with the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li pretended to listen attentively. Su Huanda said, The Chivalry Association is backed by Three Wonders Clan, and behind Three Wonders Clan is the Holy Church of Light's branch. Although they're very far away, there will still be some news about the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li slowly nodded. Fu Mengshan sighed. You can fabricate a fortuitous encounter. Say that he had a fortuitous encounter after falling down the cliff and changed his appearance slightly. You're proficient in the bone shrinkage skill, so you can change your body shape. As for your appearance, you can use that mask. It shouldn't be too different, right? Chu Li asked, Should I use this identity? This is the simplest and safest way. Fu Mengshan said, Zhao Dai has a clean background. He's a local from Peacetown. Later, one of our secret guardians saved him, so he became a secret guardian to repay the kindness. What's his personality like? Chu Li asked. Su Huanda said, He's quite a simple and somewhat foolish person. It's the complete opposite of your personality, so it'll be able to conceal your identity. Chu Li fell in a deep thought. Su Huanda said, The Chivalry Association that he belongs to isn't considered strong, so it'll reduce the danger to you. Once you realize that something's wrong, you can escape. Is it possible for me to enter the Holy Church of Light? If you perform well and advance step by step, you might enter the Holy Church of Light. That's good. Young Chu, you have to be careful. Don't be greedy and advance recklessly. More importantly, don't try to enter the Holy Church of Light. Just enter Three Wonders Clan. Fu Mengshan said in a low voice, The Holy Church of Light has a special skill that can test the loyalty of their disciples. No one can escape from it. Chu Li raised his eyebrows and slowly nodded. All right, I'll try. If you can enter Three Wonders Clan, you'll be able to obtain information about the Holy Church of Light. This is enough. If there's a big operation, we'll be able to know in advance. Fu Mengshan said. Su Huanda said, It's just that this Zhao Dai has a completely different personality from you. Moreover, he's ugly and not very likable. I'm afraid that you'll have to suffer some grievances. That's the best. I won't have any worries. Chu Li smiled. He had originally planned to disguise himself as such a person. A foolish person was the easiest to fool others. All right then, you can go there tomorrow. Don't delay it for too long. I'll withdraw all the spies. You'll be alone, so you won't be exposed. With your light body technique, it'll only take you half a day to reach Huazhou town. There's a stronghold there. If you have any urgent news, you can send it over, Fu Mengshan said. All right. Chu Li nodded. King An's imperial residence when Chu Li returned to Tianshu courtyard. Other than Co. Shi, Shao Qi was also sitting quietly at the stone table. Both of them were playing chess. Dressed in a spotless white robe, she sat there elegantly and coldly like an otherworldly fairy. When Chu Li entered, Co. Shi looked up at him. Why are you back so late? I was held up by something. Has Lady Xiao arrived? Chu Li looked at Co. Qi. Co. Qi pinched the chess piece and looked at him. Yes. Chu Li smiled. Now I can finally rest assured. Co. Shi said, With your 4 senior brothers, Xueling and Jiang Kuai, the masters in our residence should be enough. And Lady Xiao. Chu Li looked at Co. Qi. Co. Qi glanced at him. I won't stay for too long. Chu Li nodded. Try to stay for a few more days. I originally wanted to leave after a while, but things have changed. I'll have to leave tomorrow. CO sure frowned. Chuli smiled. I'll be back anytime. CO sure nodded slowly. Don't force yourself. The place I'm going to this time doesn't have strong martial arts. There won't be any danger. Chuli smiled. Just be careful. CO sure scoffed. She trusted Chu Li's intelligence and knew that he would not be easily taken advantage of. Chapter 747. Chu Li asked, "Are you used to living in the imperial residence?" Xiao Qi stared at the chessboard and replied, "I'm fine." "That's good," Chu Li said. "If you're not used to it, you can ask the scribes to change it." Xiao Qi continued to stare at the chessboard and did not look at him. Xiao Shi pursed her lips and smiled as she watched the show. Chu Li said, "The imperial residence still needs to be on the lookout for assassinations from the Holy Church of Light. I heard from Senior Brother and the others that it was the high official from the Holy Church of Light who came last time. The Holy Church of Light has many martial arts masters and countless high officials." Xiao Shi smiled faintly. Chu Li stared at Xiao Qi and did not say a word, waiting for her to speak. Xiao Qi stared at the chessboard for a while and finally looked up at him. She said, "High official." Chu Li said, "The Holy Church of Light recruits masters from various countries to become high officials of the Holy Church of Light. They are ordered by the Holy Church of Light, and the Holy Church of Light will give them generous rewards in exchange. There is no affiliation, it's just a deal." Xiao Qi frowned slightly. "That's a powerful move." Chu Li nodded. "I work as Du Feng. Last time, I met a patrol who wanted to recruit me as a high official. I've been thinking about it." Xiao Shi resisted the urge to speak and did not say a word. She just watched the show. "You want to be a high official?" Xiao Qi frowned. Chu Li said, "Once you become a high official, you won't be working in your own country. You'll be working in other countries, like escorting a batch of items or assassinating someone. The reward for completing a mission is amazing. There are martial arts secret manuals, pills, treasured swords, and knives. As long as you work hard for the Holy Church of Light, you don't have to worry about anything. There are even levels of high officials. The higher the level, the more dangerous the mission and the more amazing the reward. I heard that there are even enlightened masters' techniques. This is no different from working in the High Duke's public house or the imperial residence." Xiao Qi scoffed. "What a sinister move. Recruiting the world's talents for their own use." Chu Li shook his head and praised. "The Holy Church of Light is too bold. The last time they came to the imperial residence, it was the Li dynasty's high official. I wonder which country it will be next. It could even be the Zheng dynasty, Fu dynasty, or Qiu dynasty." Xiao Qi fell into deep thought. Chu Li continued. "On one hand, they require their disciples to be extremely loyal. On the other hand, they recruit talents from all over the place and do not stick to a single pattern. As long as they are a master, they can become a high official. They are not stingy with their rewards. To be able to combine these two factors into one, it is truly terrifying. No other sect can achieve this, so I want to go in and have a look." Xiao Qi calmly said, "The High Duke's public house can't do that. If the High Duke's public house also dared to recruit talents like this, there was no telling how many spies would be mixed in. Then there would be no need to fight at all. They would collapse without a fight." The other sects were also worried about this, so they prioritized loyalty and did not dare to learn from the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li nodded slowly. "What a pity." This was not difficult to say, but it was actually very difficult to do. The control of the heat needed to be extremely precise, and he really wanted to learn this. CO sure could not help but ask, "So you're going to be a high official?" "I was planning to do that, but now I don't have to." Chu Li shook his head. "There's a better way." "I think so too," CO sure said. As a high official, he would definitely be doing the most dangerous things that the Holy Church of Light's disciples would not be willing to do, dirty and tiring work. It was really not worth the effort. He did not lack the rewards from the Holy Church of Light, so he could not get any information. CO Qi faintly glanced at him. Then she lowered her head and continued to look at the chessboard. Chu Li was already satisfied. so he did not continue to pester her and left. Peacetown was a big town surrounded by mountains, and it was surrounded by dozens of small villages. There were more than 10,000 households in the town. Chuli arrived at a house at the westernmost end of Peacetown, pushed open the old wooden door, and entered the small courtyard. The small courtyard was paved with a stone path, so it would not be muddy during rain. There was a pile of firewood on the western wall and a small flower garden on the eastern side of the courtyard. The center of the courtyard was pressed flat, and it was a small martial arts field. There was also a wooden table by the side of the field. Chuli glanced at the entire courtyard. Although it was run down, it was clean and tidy. The owner was a diligent person, and it was really a pity that Zhao Dei died. From today onwards, Chuli would replace him and live here. He entered the house, and the bedding inside was wet, and the family's valuable belongings were missing. It was as if the house had been robbed, and it was obvious that someone had heard about his disappearance and could not wait to make a move. He was in a dilemma. Since he was here, did he have to cook for himself? Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from outside, and then a burly man strode in. When he saw Chu Li standing in the courtyard, his eyes widened. "Young Zhao, you're not dead?" Chu Li's current appearance was already as ugly as Zhao Dei's, with a flat nose, thick lips, and triangular eyes. He looked rustic and ugly. "You're the one who's dead," Chu Li said impatiently. This burly man was in his 30s, and he had a full beard, a lion's nose, and a wide mouth. His eyes were bright and full of expression, and he was indeed a good-looking man. However, Chu Li did not know his identity, so he took advantage of the man's temper and immediately rebuked him. The burly man said loudly, "Young man, you were thrown off the cliff, and we've been looking for you for half a day. We couldn't find you, and we couldn't find your corpse. Where did you fall?" He went forward to touch Chu Li's shoulder. Chu Li pushed his hand away. "Yo, your temper is getting worse." The burly man chuckled and reached out to pat his shoulder again. Chu Li reached out again to push him away. This time, the burly man used a lot of strength in his right hand, but it was not worth mentioning in front of Chu Li's strength, and was easily pushed away. He said impatiently, "Don't touch me." Since when did you become so strong?" The burly man rubbed his wrist and looked at him in surprise. Chu Li scoffed. "Let me tell you, I, Zhao Dei, am no longer the Zhao Dei of the past." "What's going on?" The burly man laughed. "You're no longer the same person after falling off the cliff? I had a fortuitous encounter." Chu Li looked askance at him and said disdainfully, "Do you know what a fortuitous encounter is?" The burly man laughed out loud. "Young Zhao, you're still daydreaming. You're the one who's daydreaming," Chu Li said impatiently. "I'm telling the truth. I ate a mystical fruit." "What mystical fruit?" The burly man chuckled. Chu Li went forward and slammed into him. Bang! The two of them collided, and the burly man staggered backward and was pressed against the door. Crack! A hole appeared in the door. Chu Li shouted, "Pay for my door." The burly man stared at him with wide eyes. Chu Li went forward and grabbed his collar and said angrily, "Pay for the door." The burly man's face immediately darkened, and he reached out to twist his wrist, forcing him to let go. Chu Li's hand was like an iron hoop and did not budge. He gripped the burly man tightly and suddenly lifted him up. "Pay for my door." "Young Zhao, put me down first. I won't let go if you don't agree to pay for it." All right, I'll pay for it." Chu Li finally let go and scoffed proudly. "What do you think? You're no match for me now. I, Eldergua, am done for today." The burly man scoffed. "What fortuitous encounter did you have?" Chu Li read the man's name from his mind and his opinion of Zhao Dei. The man's name was Guoshan. In his eyes, Zhao Dei was a simple-minded fool, a simple-minded person, and could not think or use his brain. Zhao Dei only listened to other people's orders and did not have his own thoughts. He was an obedient thug. Chapter 748. Do you believe me now? Chu Li scoffed proudly and looked askance at him. Guoshan said, "I believe you. You've indeed become a lot stronger. It's only been a few days. Tell me, What kind of fortuitous encounter did you have? I haven't found a place for dinner yet. Chuli rubbed his stomach. I'm hungry. You little brat. Guishan chuckled. You become smarter. All right, let's go home. Let your sister-in-law cook a few dishes, and then we can talk about your adventure. As he spoke, he turned around and walked away. How much are you prepared to pay for this door? Chuli followed him out of the door. He didn't close the door either. Everything valuable had been stolen, so it didn't matter if he closed the door or not. How much do you want? Guishan scoffed. Chuli said, at least 10 taels. 10 taels it is. Guishan took out a silver ingot and tossed it to him. Take it. Chuli reached out and took it. He smiled in satisfaction and kept it in his arms. Everyone thought that I was dead, right? The two of them walked eastward along the main street. After walking for more than a mile, they arrived in front of a house. Chuli sized up the residence. There were a total of 3 courtyards. Although it was not considered big, it was a rare good courtyard. It had the aura of a prosperous family. This Guishan was doing quite well in the sect. Guishan said, you fell off the cliff and disappeared for a few days. Everyone thought you were eaten by the wolves. Chuli scoffed. Guishan said, Chivalry Association suffered a loss this time. Besides you, 2 of her brothers died, but not a single member of Ferric Blood Association died. Feng Changwan, who pushed you down the mountain, was especially arrogant and smug. Zhao De could be considered as one of Chivalry Association's valiant generals. His martial arts skills were poor, but he dared to fight and fight without any regard for his life. He always used techniques that would bring his opponent down with him, so he was quite famous for his prowess. However, this time, he was defeated by Feng Changwan. It was a pity that the guy had a bad temper, and he was blunt with his words. He was also stupid and did not understand the ways of the world. He was stubborn and did not dare to respect anyone. He even dared to talk back to the sect master. If it were not for the fact that he was still considered loyal, he would have been kicked out of Chivalry's sect a long time ago. When Zhao De died this time, the sect leader even sighed a few times and felt sorry for him. Feng Changwan, I'll definitely kill him with my own hands, Chuli said through gritted teeth. Guishan pushed open the door and walked in. As he walked, he said, if there's a chance, you should kill him. The 3 people who died this time were all killed by him. This guy seems to have had a fortuitous encounter, and his martial arts suddenly became powerful. You're no match for him. It's different now. Chuli clenched his fist and said disdainfully, killing him is a piece of cake. That's great. Guishan smiled. We must avenge our brothers in the sect. In a few days, we'll fight our way back. Kill them. Destroy the Ferric Blood Association. Chuli said hatefully. He's got guts. Guishan praised. A maid came over to pay her respects, and then a middle-aged woman came out. She had a petite figure and was extremely beautiful. She still retained her graceful bearing, and when she was young, she must have been a beauty. Little Zhao. She smiled happily and said, Laoguis said that you were dead. I told you that fortune favors fools. You won't die. I was right. Chuli saw Zhao De's past actions in her mind, so he imitated her and gave a fist salute. Sister-in-law, come in and sit down. I'll cook a few dishes right away. The middle-aged woman smiled. Let Xiao Xing get you some wine, so that you can get rid of your bad luck. Thank you, sister-in-law. Chuli agreed without hesitation. Guishan looked at his submissive expression and shook his head, cursing him for being a donkey. Zhao De was like a donkey with a bad temper. He would turn hostile at the slightest provocation. Moreover, he would turn hostile at the slightest provocation. One had to go along with his temper. He could not serve such a fellow. Only his wife could accommodate him. He would occasionally come over for a meal, but because Guishan did not like him, he did not come more than 10 times. He was full of praise for his wife's culinary skills, and wished that he could eat at Guishan's house all day long. He did not want to cook for himself, so how could Guishan spoil him? Chuli had already seen through his thoughts, so he knew what he should do. It was already late autumn, and the sun had not set yet, so it was already rather chilly. Both of them sat on a large brick bed with a short table on it. The 2 of them leaned against the window and sat on the pit to talk. The middle-aged woman quickly cooked 2 dishes and poured them some wine, allowing them to drink first. Guoshan poured a bowl of wine for him, then drank it in one gulp. All right, tell me, what kind of fortuitous encounter did you have? Guoshan stared at him with bright eyes. Chuli shook his head and said, I can tell you. Hurry up and tell me, don't waste my time. Guoshan said impatiently. Stop keeping me in suspense. Chuli said, sister-in-law's culinary skills are amazing. Guoshan glared at him. What do you mean? Chuli said, it would be best if I could eat here every day. No way. Guoshan scoffed. Chuli lazily drank a mouthful of wine and picked up a mouthful of food, completely unperturbed. I say, when did you become such a rascal? Guoshan glared at him and was about to lose his temper. I don't have that much free food at home. Chuli said, it's not like I'm not paying you. If you have the money, you can hire a cook yourself. Guoshan waved his hand. I can't be bothered to look at your ugly face. Elder Gua, how handsome do you think you are? Chuli said in disdain. You're not much better than me. What's wrong with your eyes? Do we look the same? Huh? Guoshan was so angry that he laughed. Chuli nodded. I think so. Forget it. Forget it if you don't want to tell me. Guoshan waved his hand and said angrily, I don't want to hear it. Chuli said, sigh this fortuitous encounter of mine. I'm full of energy now, as if I have an endless supply of energy. I don't know what's going on. As he spoke, he drank another bowl of wine. Guoshan glared at him and scoffed. It's fine if you don't want to tell me, but freeloading? No way. Chuli curled his lips. Look at how petty you are. Everyone said that you were heroic, but I think they had eyes but failed to see. I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. Guoshan said angrily. He picked up the bowl and finished it in one gulp, then put it down heavily. Madame Gua came in with the dishes and saw that they were in a stalemate. She smiled. What now? This brat wants to freeload at our house every day. Don't you think he's taking advantage of us? Guoshan sneered. Humans can't be pitted. We took pity on him, but he's asking for a mile after we gave him an inch. Madame Gua smiled. I'll have Xiao Xing send it to you when I'm done cooking. Thank you, sister-in-law. Chuli was overjoyed. He was not pretending. He was truly grateful. He was fine with other things, but cooking was difficult for him. Madame Gua waved her hand and smiled. It's not a big deal. Just cook more when you need to. Guoshan scoffed. Why should I? Chuli said, petty. I'll give sister-in-law some silver every month. No need, no need. Madame Gua waved her hand and smiled. I don't need your silver. Chuli smiled. Then I won't hold back. Chapter 749. Chuli sighed in satisfaction and shook his head. To be honest, Elder Gua, you really don't deserve sister-in-law. What do you mean? Guoshan scoffed with a cold expression. Chuli said, look at how forthright sister-in-law is. She's even more forthright than a man like you. What about the fortuitous encounter? Guoshan felt that if he continued to argue with him, he would definitely hit him. Chuli picked up another bowl of wine and drank it in one gulp. He sighed and said, I fell to the bottom of the mountain, and it turned out to be a piece of mud. I saw a bright red fruit in the mud. I was about to die, and I was covered in wounds. I thought, even if I die, I can't be a hungry ghost, so I ate the fruit. What did it look like? Guoshan quickly asked. Chuli tilted his head and thought. I was in a daze and forgot what it looked like. I only remember that it was very red, really very red, redder than all the other fruits. All right, what happened next? Guoshan quickly asked. Chuli said, after the fruit entered my stomach, it immediately turned into fire and almost burned me to death. I was in so much pain that I fainted. When I woke up, I realized that all my injuries were healed and I was full of energy. I could break a rock with one punch. You came back after you woke up? Where else would I go? Then you were in a coma for 6 days. Guoshan shook his head. If you didn't starve to death, you died of thirst. Anyway, I slept all the way until today. I found a place to clean up and came back. Damn it, who stole my stuff? If they don't return it to me tomorrow, I'll kill them. Chuli said hatefully. He gritted his teeth. Coupled with his ugly face, he looked even more ferocious and terrifying. Guoshan was disgusted and waved his hand. Don't worry, I'll bring it back for you tomorrow. How strong are you? How strong? Chu Li chuckled. Stronger than yours anyway. Guoshan was an innate master. He was not considered a top-notch master in the martial arts world and could only be considered second-rate, but he was already a top-notch master in Peacetown. In the past, Zhao De was only an acquired master, and Guoshan could not be bothered with him. Even now that he realized that Chu Li's strength had increased, Guoshan still hated him. He would only help him occasionally because he was pitiful and had a bad temper. Most of the time, he would regret it and help him again after a while. Guoshan said, "Come, let's compete." He held out his left hand. Chu Li extended his left hand as well, and both of them shook hands. With a gentle tug, Chu Li brought Guoshan to him in an instant. Guoshan hurriedly shook off his hand and grimaced inwardly. His hand was in so much pain that it felt like it was going to split open. This donkey was really strong. He did not even have the time to use his inner force before he was pulled over. The unstoppable power was truly terrifying. Chu Li chuckled and said proudly, "How is it?" Guoshan scoffed. "It's not enough to just have stupid strength. You still need to train." "Of course." Chu Li nodded. "With this strength, coupled with my knife technique, I will be invincible." Invincible? Guoshan shook his head. He was indeed a frog at the bottom of a well. This was just Peacetown, which was worlds apart from Luozhou City. Even the faction leader was just a nobody in Luozhou City. Brother Gua," someone shouted from outside. Soon, a handsome young man rushed in. When he saw Chu Li, he was stunned for a moment. "Zhao De, you're not dead. I won't die so easily." Chu Li nodded proudly. The handsome young man ignored him and said to Guoshan, "Today, Feng Changwen and a few others ambushed the Deputy Association leader. The Deputy Association leader is injured and wants to take revenge. He's calling for you, Brother Gua." "All right, let's go." Guoshan got up and got off the Kong bed. "I'll go too," Chu Li quickly said. The handsome young man waved his hand. "Forget it, Zhao De. We're only calling for 10 masters this time." "What kind of master are you, Zhao De?" "Just stay put and don't cause trouble for everyone." Chu Li glared at him indignantly. "I say, Elder Feng, don't look down on me. I'm not the old Zhao De anymore." Guoshan waved his hand. "Only 10 are going. You don't have to join in the fun. How can I miss out on killing Feng Changwen? He was the one who pushed me down the mountain." Chu Li gritted his teeth and said angrily. The handsome young man said impatiently, "Don't join? Blind? Mulberry? Pellet Velvet Pat Wu, all right, let's go." Guoshan nodded and turned to glare at Chu Li. "You stay here and eat your food. Wait for our good news." Chu Li wanted to remind them that since Feng Changwen had ambushed the Deputy Association leader, he would definitely be on guard against their revenge. However, he remembered that Zhao De was not that smart, so he could only give up. Guoshan was not an idiot, he should know that. The handsome young man ignored Chu Li and left with Guoshan. Madame Gua served the dishes and looked at their backs worriedly. Chu Li chuckled. "Sister-in-law, don't worry. With Elder Gua's martial arts, even if he doesn't kill anyone, no one will be able to kill him." Madame Gua forced a smile. "Then I'll be counting on your auspicious words, young Zhao." Chu Li nodded confidently and buried his head in his food. 2 hours later, Chu Li was full, but he was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he went to the courtyard to drink some tea while waiting for Guoshan's news. He was currently in the dark and could easily make a mistake if he entered the Chivalry Association. It would be much safer if Guoshan brought him in. A flurry of footsteps could be heard. "Slow down, slow down. They're here." Through the omniscient mirror, Chu Li saw 4 people rushing over. Guoshan was lying on the back of one of them. His face was as pale as a sheet, and his eyes were shut tight. He was already unconscious. The 4 of them were also injured, but compared to Guoshan, their injuries were like the difference between heaven and earth. All of them were superficial wounds. Chu Li strode forward. "What's going on?" When the 4 of them saw that he was blocking the way, they glared at him impatiently. "Get out of the way. What happened to Elder Gua?" Chu Li moved aside and asked impatiently. "What happened to him?" "Zhao De, what are you doing?" "Move aside." The handsome young man who came to greet Guoshan waved his hand impatiently. They placed Guoshan on the Kong bed and stared at him. Chu Li followed them into the house. Madame Guo was lying limply on the edge of the Kong bed. Tears streamed down her face as she stared at Guoshan. Chu Li had already seen Guoshan's injuries. He had been stabbed in the chest and thigh. They were all extremely serious injuries. His chest was still fine, but the thigh had severed his hamstring. Even if he recovered, he would not be able to recover to his original state. The person who stabbed him was truly vicious. He had wanted to cripple Guoshan on purpose. Even if Guoshan recovered, his martial arts would deteriorate. Chu Li asked angrily, "Who did this?" Feng Changwen. The handsome young man looked up at him and scoffed. "You want to take revenge?" "Of course. Why are you in such a sorry state?" Chu Li gritted his teeth. "We were ambushed by Feng Changwen." The handsome young man scoffed. He predicted the path we were going to take and suddenly jumped out. He took advantage of us and ran away. "You're pigs," Chu Li sneered. "Didn't you think that he would ambush us?" Chapter 750. P.S. Update completed. I've read everyone's reviews, and I'm terrified. I can only try my best to adjust and improve. I'm grateful that everyone is still supporting me despite my terrible writing. Chu Li refused to back down and glared at him. "You're all pigs." The middle-aged man took a step forward. "Say another word, and I'll teach you a lesson. If he can ambush the deputy association leader, why can't he ambush you?" Chu Li pouted. "It's such a simple thing. I can predict it, but you guys foolishly fell for it. I'm praising you guys for being pigs. You're worse than pigs. You're courting death." The middle-aged man threw a punch. Chu Li threw a punch too. Bang! Chu Li stood firmly as a wave of inner energy rushed into his body. His organs were instantly turned over, and he felt nauseous. This middle-aged man's inner energy was unique, and he was also an innate master. He already knew who he was, Commander Zhou Xingbang. Zhou Xingbang took 3 steps back and stared at Chu Li in shock. Chu Li scoffed. "Elder Zhou, let me tell you, I'm not the original Zhao De. How strong? Where did you get your strength from?" Zhou Xingbang stared at him coldly. "Fortuitous encounter," Chu Li scoffed. "One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune later on. I had a fortuitous encounter at the bottom of the cliff. You're no match for me." "Umph." Zhou Xingbang sneered. "What's the use of your stupid strength? You can't defeat Feng Changwen." "Don't worry, I'll definitely kill him." Chu Li sneered. He had to kill Feng Changwen to avenge the original Zhao De. Moreover, Feng Changwen was also his stepping stone. He wanted to rise quickly from a chivalry association to the Three Wonders clan, then to the branch, and then to the Holy Church of Light. With such a righteous path of advancement, entering the Holy Church of Light would be smooth sailing. The handsome young man looked at Chu Li in surprise. "Zhao De, for real? Did you really have a fortuitous encounter? I can't be bothered with you." Chu Li gave him a sidelong glance. "I have nothing to say to idiots like you." The 4 of them were so angry that they gritted their teeth and wanted to slap him to death. Chu Li pretended not to notice and scoffed proudly. "You'll have to rely on me to deal with Feng Changwen." Zhou Xingbang snorted. "This matter is decided by the sect leader. You can't act recklessly. If you mess up the sect leader's plan, he'll expel you from Chivalry's sect. Who are you trying to scare?" Chu Li pursed his lips and scoffed. "Don't use association leader to pressure me. Let me tell you, if I see Feng Changwen, I'll definitely kill him." Guoshan suddenly groaned. Madame Guo hurriedly said, "Old Guo." Guoshan slowly opened his eyes and saw everyone. Everyone hurriedly asked at the same time, "Lao Guo, how do you feel? Are you all right? Can you circulate your energy? Don't worry, there's no danger to your life. Rest well." "Old Guo, you're useless now." Chu Li's voice overpowered the crowd as he said loudly, "But don't worry, you still have me. I'll avenge you and kill that Feng Changwen." Everyone turned their heads and glared at him. Chu Li ignored them. "Elder Guo, with me around, you don't have to worry about not being able to eat. You'll definitely have a good life." Guoshan smiled bitterly. "Elder Guo, take care of yourself." Zhou Xingbang patted his shoulder. "Even if you're useless, the association will take care of you." Besides, it's not that serious. Yes. Guoshan nodded. His leg's tendons were severed. No matter how good the medicine was, it would not be able to heal his injury. It would be good enough if he could walk again. Let's leave first. Don't disturb Elder Guo's recovery. Zhou Xingbang turned his head and said. Everyone took their leave. Chu Li stayed behind. Guoshan glanced at him and suppressed his anger. What are you still doing here? Are you trying to make a fool out of me? Chu Li scoffed. Don't be ungrateful. I'm just worried that you'll take things too hard. I won't commit suicide. Guoshan scoffed. Chu Li said, I have nothing to do when I go back, so I'll accompany you. I don't need you to accompany me. Guoshan said. Chu Li shook his head. You're at your worst now. How can I not accompany you? Guoshan did not know whether to laugh or cry. Madame Guo said, since young Zhao has good intentions, stay. She was also worried that Elder Guo would take things too hard and give up on himself. Chu Li sat on a chair and said, these people are really a bunch of pigs. They didn't know that Feng Changwen would ambush them. I'm a pig too. Guoshan scoffed. Chu Li said, haven't you thought about it? I have, but the deputy association leader is furious. If you want to charge, how can we not do it? Guoshan said. The deputy association leader is a pig. Chu Li said. Guoshan said, if the deputy association leader hears what I said, you'll suffer. Even in front of him, I dare to say that. Chu Li scoffed. Guoshan shook his head, but he was secretly delighted. He had reminded the deputy association leader at that time, but the deputy association leader was enraged, and no one could stop him. There were 10 of them, while Feng Changwen and his men were 20. They suddenly launched an attack, and Guoshan was attacked by 2 people while Feng Changwen ambushed him. That was why he was so heavily injured. Fortunately, the deputy association leader had spirit medicine, otherwise he would have lost his life. The deputy association leader isn't dead? Chu Li asked. Guoshan said, the deputy association leader is a perfected innate master. He wasn't seriously injured. Following him is really bad luck. Chu Li pursed his lips. He's really a bad general. Guoshan sighed. It's better if you don't say such things. Your mouth likes to cause trouble. Chu Li said, hurry up and treat your injuries so that you can take revenge. Guoshan smiled and slowly closed his eyes. For the next 3 days, other than going back to sleep, Chu Li stayed at Guoshan's house from day to night. He talked to Guoshan and slowly got to know the ins and outs of Chivalry Association. On the evening of the 3rd day, the setting sun dyed the courtyard red. Chu Li was talking to Guoshan in the courtyard. Suddenly, footsteps were heard from outside, and a few people pushed the door open. Guoshan was sitting on a chair with a crutch beside him. His left leg could not walk yet. When he saw the people, Guoshan quickly stood up. Association leader. Chu Li looked over. The leader was a handsome young man, and beside him was a tall and burly middle-aged man with a pale face. Behind them were 4 middle-aged men, including Zhou Xingbang. Chu Li knew from Guoshan's mind that this handsome young man was the association leader of Chivalry Association, Qiao Zhenhai. The tall and burly middle-aged man was the deputy association leader, Mingya, and the other 4 were commanders. Qiao Zhenhai waved his hand. Don't get up. He took a step toward Guoshan and made him sit down. He sighed. You were injured for the sake of Chivalry Association. I should have come to see you earlier. Guoshan smiled. Association leader, you're too kind. I'm fine. I didn't manage to kill Feng Changwen, and he escaped. Qiao Zhenhai shook his head. I originally planned to kill Feng Changwen to avenge you, and then come to tell you about it to cheer you up. Who knew that Feng Changwen was so cunning? What a bunch of useless people. Chu Li scoffed coldly. He wanted to express his arrogance after having a fortuitous encounter, which was in line with Zhao Day's character, even if it would offend people. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone stared at him. Qiao Zhenhai smiled. Zhao Day, you're really not dead. I heard that you had a fortuitous encounter. Chapter 751. P.S. I'm begging for everyone's recommendation votes. Please give me one. I'll be eternally grateful. Zhou Xingbang said coldly. How arrogant. Chu Li glared at him and scoffed. Do you want to compete with me? Zhou Xingbang scoffed and ignored him. Xiao Zhenhai smiled. How strong are you? I have infinite strength. Chu Li put on a smug look and scoffed. Association leader, I'm not bragging, but in the entire Chivalry Association, I'm the strongest person right now. No one can compare to me. Hee, you're not humble at all. Xiao Zhenhai laughed. Chu Li said, I've always told the truth. I won't tell those empty lies. Am I right, Commander Zhou? Zhou Xingbang turned his head and said, Association leader, Zhao Dai is really strong. Xiao Zhenhai smiled. Looks like Zhao Dai wasn't bragging. Chu Li proudly puffed out his chest and acted like a scoundrel intoxicated by success. Guo Shan shook his head. The others treated him like a funny scoundrel, but he was so proud of himself. His foolishness was a headache. Chu Li said, Association leader, leave this phone guy to me. If I catch him, I'll finish him off with one punch. Zhou Xingbang said coldly, Feng Changwen is a perfected innate master. He's extremely fast. No matter how strong you are, you won't be able to hit him. I don't believe I can't hit him. I'm fast too. Chu Li scoffed. Zhou Xingbang said, Do you think your stupid strength can match his inner energy? He uses his footwork to get behind you and give you a palm strike. You'll be injured, another palm strike, and you'll be dead. You really think you're invincible just because you have some strength? Chu Li curled his lips and said nonchalantly, How can it be that amazing? I can definitely kill him. Everyone shook their heads. Zhao Dai had poor aptitude. He was still at the lowest acquired level, and his inner energy was almost non-existent. If it was not for the fact that he fought with all his might, no one would care about him and his life. Dai, I'll avenge you. Guo Shan, Commander Wu died during the ambush on Feng Changwen. Xiao Zhenhai smiled. No wonder I didn't see Commander Wu. Guo Shan hurriedly said, How did Commander Wu? It was also our carelessness. We didn't know that Feng Changwen was hiding a mystical skill and gave Commander Wu a palm strike. It was an extremely vicious palm energy. We couldn't control it, and Commander Wu breathed his last when he returned. Xiao Zhenhai sighed. Feng Changwen. Guo Shan gritted his teeth and scoffed. Feng Changwen. Everyone said that this guy also had a fortuitous encounter. Xiao Zhenhai sighed. I didn't expect the Ferret Blood Gang to have such a powerful person. He had a fortuitous encounter, and so did I. Looks like I'm the only one who can deal with him. Chu Li said hurriedly. Everyone glared at him and ignored him. Zhao Dai was a fellow who would go crazy whenever someone approached him. The more he paid attention to him, the more excited he became. Through their minds, Chu Li gained a clearer understanding of Zhao Dai's personality. His actions were becoming more and more similar to the real Zhao Dai. It was a wonderful feeling. It was as if he had really become Zhao Dai and had completely forgotten his own personality. Every move he made was Zhao Dai, and he had completely entered a different life. Guo Shan, you were injured because of the Chivalry Association, and you're also an old member of the association. So I've decided to let you be the commander, Xiao Zhenhai said. Commander? Guo Shan was stunned and quickly waved his hand. No. I'm now a cripple. How can I be a commander? Why not? Chu Li hurriedly shouted. Association leader is wise. Elder Guo should be the commander. You shut up. Guo Shan glared at him. Chu Li shouted. Elder Guo, are you worried that the others won't accept it? Don't worry. Leave it to me. I'll deal with whoever doesn't accept it until they accept it. Xiao Zhenhai smiled and shook his head. Zhou Xingbang's face darkened. Zhao Dai, get lost. Why are you involved in everything? Chu Li glared at him. Are you not accepting it? Su Qinghe, who had been quiet all this while, said, Zhao Dai, if you continue to cause trouble, association leader might change his mind. He was handsome and stood out in the crowd, but he had always been a man of few words and rarely spoke, but his words were powerful. Chu Li scoffed. All right, I'll shut up. Guo Shan sighed in relief and quickly said, Association leader, I'm a cripple. I'm not suitable to be a commander. You were crippled because of the Chivalry Association, and your cultivation level is still there. How can you say that you're a cripple? Xiao Zhenhai shook his head. If you switch to training in hidden weapons, you'll still be powerful. All right, Elder Gua, don't decline it. You've worked hard and performed great deeds. It's only right for you to be a commander. Zhou Xingbang scoffed. Another commander, Deng Xinli, nodded. That's right. Chuli glanced at the crowd and scoffed. These people really had a good plan. They made Guoshan a commander for others to see, to let them know that there was nothing wrong with working for the Chivalry Association and that they would not be mistreated. Look at Guoshan. He became a commander despite being injured and crippled, and the association did not abandon him. They were certain that with Guoshan's character, even if he became a commander, he would not last long and would soon leave. This way, everyone would be happy, and it would just be a formality. Chuli secretly decided that he would destroy their wishful thinking and push Guoshan out in front of him. Once Guoshan had a firm foothold, he would have a firm foothold as well. He would also be able to gain a reputation for loyalty. Guoshan shook his head and smiled bitterly. Association leader, I really can't do it. You have prestige in the association. You should have been a commander long ago, but you owe us a huge contribution, Qiao Zhenhai said. Qiao Zhenhai said, now that the time is right, it's your turn to be a commander. You'll replace Commander Wu. But Guoshan still wanted to decline. Zhou Xingbang said, Elder Gua, are you going against association leader's wishes? Of course not, but Guoshan hurriedly said. Zhou Xingbang scoffed. Association leader has made up his mind. You could be a commander whether you want to or not. Sigh. Then I can only accept it in shame. Guoshan hesitated for a moment, then finally sighed. Qiao Zhenhai smiled. That's more like it, Commander Gua. Return to the association tomorrow. Yes. Guoshan fist saluted. Qiao Zhenhai fist saluted. Then we'll take our leave. Everyone fist saluted and left. Chuli watched as they disappeared and curled his lips. Hypocrites! What nonsense are you spouting? Guoshan glared at him. Chuli said, a bunch of useless trash. They can't even deal with Feng Changwen. It's not like you don't know how cunning Feng Changwen is. Guoshan said angrily, you've really done your best to treat me like this. I can only repay you with my life. Tell me, aren't you stupid? They're waiting for you to resign from your position as a commander. You'll have a good reputation and won't suffer any losses. Yet you're still being so stupid and grateful. Chuli said snappily. Guoshan frowned and glared at him. Nonsense. Chuli scoffed. Why don't you think about whether it's nonsense or not? Since when did you become so smart? Guoshan sized him up. Chuli said disdainfully. I can see through such a small trick at a glance. Why do I need to be smart? Chapter 752. Chuli scoffed. So you're playing dumb too. It's better to be dumb. Guoshan said. You'll only make yourself unhappy if you're so clear about everything. You should go back. You're enlightened now. Don't offend people with your words. Chuli pouted. I'll say whatever I want to say. Who cares about them? They're just a bunch of useless people. What's there to be afraid of? Let's go. Guoshan waved his hand and said impatiently. A leopard could not change its spots. No matter how smart he was, he would still act foolishly. With his personality, he would be at a disadvantage sooner or later. Then let's go to the association together tomorrow. Chuli said, I'll stand up for you. Let's see who dares to oppose me. All right. Guoshan waved his hand. He was quite satisfied too. Having a fighter like Zhao De saved him a lot of trouble. As a commander, he needed his most loyal subordinate. Zhao De was a sword. Although he was annoying, he was useful. The next morning, Chuli was practicing his blade in his courtyard. He found a secret manual in the house called the Zhao family blade technique. The secret manual was hidden under a brick. Apart from the owner, no one could find it. With the omniscient mirror, he could see inside and out. He saw the blade technique. This blade technique was not the best, but it was unique. It was divided into 3 forms: the mountain splitting form, the river flattening form, and the yin lifting form. As long as these 3 forms were matched well, it would be an exquisite blade technique. If they were not matched well, it would be a mediocre blade technique. The key was the comprehension of the blade user and their understanding of the blade technique. Compared to the 7 forms of divine blade, the Zhao family blade technique paled in comparison. It did not have the accumulation, acceleration, and deterrence of the 7 forms of Divine Blade. The speed of the blade would not increase, but the blade technique was simple and effective. It could fully utilize the cultivation level of the blade user. Chu Li now positioned himself as a character without inner energy, but with infinite strength. The life and death scripture kept him in a state of emptiness. With the void as his dantian became a void. To others, he did not know martial arts or cultivated inner energy, so he was vulnerable. The reason why he had become a person without inner energy and could only rely on his strength to win was because the Holy Church of Light had strict requirements for accepting disciples. They had extremely high aptitude requirements and were not allowed to cultivate martial arts from other sections. Therefore, if he wanted to become a disciple of the Holy Church of Light, he could not reach the innate stage. He could only suppress himself at the acquired stage. It would be best if he did not have any inner energy. Coupled with his strong body and infinite strength, it would be the easiest way for him to enter the Holy Church of Light. Creak! The brand new courtyard door was pushed open. Guoshan had already found someone to replace the gate of the courtyard with a new one, and it immediately looked different. The house no longer looked dilapidated, and the things that were originally in the house had also been sent back. It was said that not a single item was missing, including the broken saber in his hand. This broken saber had a chip on it, as if it had been chopped on a rock. The blade of the saber was starting to rust. Not only was the saber of poor quality, but it was also poorly maintained, so there was no butter on it. Let's go. Guoshan walked in with his crutch. Chu Li said, I'll finish cultivating this blade technique. Guoshan stood at the side and watched him swing his saber. He shook his head and said, Your saber technique? This is the Zhao family's blade. Chu Li scoffed as he swung his saber. My ancestor was a top-notch swordsman. He was famous throughout the world with this set of Zhao family's blade. I've never heard of this Zhao family's blade. Guoshan shook his head and said, How can your saber only be firm and fierce? It needs to be soft and hard at the same time. The Zhao family's blade relies on being firm and fierce, Chu Li said. Guoshan said, All right, it's firm and fierce. It's getting late. We should go to the association. All right. Chu Li sheathed his saber. He sheathed his saber and hung it on his waist. Commander Guo, you should get me a good saber. No problem. Guoshan agreed without hesitation. Although he was using his crutch, he did not walk slowly. After all, he was a perfected innate master, so his inner energy was still there. The two of them walked west for about 2 miles, then turned north and stepped onto the North-South Avenue. They walked to the center of the town, then headed east and entered a large courtyard. Once they entered, they saw a spacious martial arts field. There were almost 100 people there, and it was very lively. Some of them were practicing their blades, some were practicing their swords, but there were very few who were practicing their palms. Acquired masters practiced their weapons, whereas innate masters practiced their fists and legs. However, most innate masters practiced their weapons as well, since weapons were more powerful. Seeing Guoshan and Chu Li, the crowd greeted them from time to time. Elder Guo, how's your recovery? Elder Guo, are you really crippled? It's good that you're crippled. You should get a metal crutch. It can be turned into a weapon. Guoshan smiled and greeted them. As for Zhao Dai, they only glanced at him and no one spoke to him. Zhao Dai's words were irritating, so talking to him was asking for trouble. Deputy Association Leader Mengya and 3 commanders walked over and said loudly, Everyone is here. I'll announce an order from the association leader. From today onwards, Guoshan will be the commander, taking over Commander Wu's position. What? Everyone was shocked. Mengya said, Guoshan is a veteran in the association. He did his best. He was injured for the sake of the Chivalry Association. We're all very sad about Commander Wu's passing, but the position of commander cannot be left vacant. Guoshan is the most suitable candidate, so from today onwards, Guoshan will be the new commander. I don't agree, a tall and strong young man said loudly. Elder Guo has worked hard and contributed a lot, but his martial arts has deteriorated. The commander should have the strongest martial arts, but a cripple becoming the commander is a joke. He's an embarrassment to the Chivalry Association. Standing in the crowd, he was like a crane standing in a flock of chickens. He was particularly eye-catching. Chuli took a step forward and shouted, "Ingju, what nonsense are you spouting?" "Zhao, you're the one spouting nonsense. What I say wrong?" Ingju scoffed angrily. "You're an idiot. Why are you joining the fun? Get lost." "I, Zhao, will declare here that Elder Guo will be the commander. If anyone is dissatisfied, come at me. I'll beat them up." Chuli thumped his chest and said loudly, "Come at me if you dare. How arrogant of you." Ingju was tall and strong, like an iron tower. Standing in front of him, Chuli was like an adult and a child. He sneered, "You think you can overturn the world just because you had a fortuitous encounter? If I don't beat you up, my surname isn't Zhao." Chuli said loudly, "You're courting death." Ingju pushed his way through the crowd and came in front of Chuli. He slapped him. His fan-like hand was fast and ruthless. He wanted to slap Chuli away so that he would shut his stinky mouth. Chuli threw a punch. Slap! A crisp sound was heard. Chuli's palm had landed on his big hand. Ingju staggered 2 steps back and hurriedly shook his hand. It was painful. Chuli followed up with a punch. Bam! Ingju raised his hand to block, but was sent flying 3 meters away. He fell heavily on the ground. Chuli came in front of him and stepped on his chest. He smirked. "Ingju, do you admit defeat?" "Admit defeat, my A***s." Ingju's face was red, and he scoffed angrily. Chuli kept stepping on him with the tip of his foot. Ingju felt his bones creaking. He was in so much pain that he felt like he was going to break. He struggled a few times, but his feet were as heavy as a mountain. The creaking grew louder and louder. His bones were about to break. Chuli's triangular eyes glowed fiercely. He glared at him. "Do you admit defeat? Stomp me to death if you have the guts." Ingju roared. "Then I'll stomp you to death," Chuli said coldly. Ingju gritted his teeth. He refused to scream or groan. He felt that his bones were really broken. It was extremely painful. However, Chuli did not let go of his foot. He continued to step on him. Chapter 753. Chuli shook his head. "No, I must beat him into submission." "Zhao." Guoshan glared at him. "We're all brothers in the association. Do you want to kill him? If he doesn't beg for mercy, I'll kill him." Chuli gritted his teeth. "Let's see if he's stubborn or stubborn." As he spoke, he exerted more force with his foot. "You're too arrogant. I'll teach you a lesson." A skinny young man jumped out and pounced on Chuli, punching him in the jaw. Chuli reached out to grab his wrist and twisted it. "Ah!" The skinny young man screamed as his body fell down. Chuli swung his arm, and the skinny young man flew 3 meters away before landing heavily on the ground. Chuli turned to look at the restless 100 men and shouted, "Who else is unconvinced? Zhao, let go of him first. If you keep stepping on him, he'll die." Guoshan yelled and pointed at Ingju. Ingju's face was purple and his mouth was wide open. His chest was being stepped on, and he could not breathe. He wanted to scream for help, but he could not make a sound. Despair and fear engulfed him and made him struggle even harder. Unfortunately, it was futile. Chuli looked down at him and scoffed. "Not dead yet. Zhao." Guoshan's face darkened, and he said angrily, "If you really kill him, will you be expelled from the association?" Chuli released his foot resentfully and kicked him away, causing him to collide with the skinny young man. Ingju opened his mouth wide and greedily sucked in air. His mouth opened even wider. Chuli turned to look at the others. "How about it? Anyone else?" Everyone frowned and glared at him angrily, but no one wanted to humiliate themselves. Those with strong martial arts felt that it was not worth it to fight such a simple-minded person and lose their status. Those with weak martial arts knew they were no match for him and did not want to humiliate themselves. Chuli said proudly, "Looks like no one else is unconvinced." Deputy Association Leader Mengya smiled and shook his head. "What nonsense. All right, it's decided. Commander Guo, I hope you can lead the 20 brothers under you to make another contribution today. Yes. Guoshan fist saluted. Mengyu waved his hand. Continue with your work. He left the martial arts field and returned to a courtyard. Everyone dispersed and continued to cultivate. Chuli approached Guoshan and chuckled. What do you think, Commander Gua? Guoshan said, how many people have you offended this time? So what? Chuli curled his lips and said, I don't care about these useless things at all. When are we going to kill Feng Changwen? There's no rush. Guoshan shook his head. Chuli frowned. Why aren't you anxious? If we don't kill Feng Changwen, who knows what kind of trouble he'll cause? That's for the sect leader to worry about. Let's just listen. Don't think too much. Guoshan came to a small courtyard with the help of his crutch. The courtyard was very clean, and there was no one around. Chuli followed him in. Why isn't anyone here? They're all practicing, Guoshan said, looking at every corner of the courtyard. He used to be Wu Xiangju's subordinate and also stayed here, so he was very familiar with every nook and cranny of this place. But looking at it now, the familiar scenery suddenly became unfamiliar. The scenery did not change, but his state of mind changed. Chuli scoffed. Looks like they're still not convinced. I went easy on them. Fists can't solve all problems. You have to control your temper. Guoshan waved his hand. Chuli scoffed. I can't control it. I can't hold it in. You? Guoshan gave up on trying to persuade him and said, don't go overboard. We're all in the same boat after all. That depends on whether they know what's good for them. Chuli curled his lips. A bunch of stubborn people. The two of them arrived at the main hall. Guoshan sat on the armchair in the center and smiled proudly. He had finally come this far. He had climbed so hard just for this day. Chuli scoffed. Elder Gua, you're happy now? I didn't expect to really become a commander. I thought my life was over. Guoshan sighed. Being able to become a commander for once, I didn't live in vain. Old friend, your ambition is too low. What's a commander? You should at least be the association leader. You shut up. Guoshan was shocked and quickly looked to his left and right before shouting in a low voice. You're crazy. How dare you say something like that? Chuli said casually. What's wrong? Have you never thought of becoming the association leader? No. Guoshan quickly waved his hand. All right, let's not talk about this. All right, let's talk about Feng Changwen then. Forget about Feng Changwen. As the two of them were talking, 8 people came in, and when they saw Guoshan sitting on the armchair, they gave him a fist salute. Commander. Guoshan flashed a friendly smile. You can just call me Old Guo like before. Etiquette can't be ignored. A commander is a commander. The 8 of them shook their heads. Chuli secretly laughed at their hypocrisy. Guoshan did not force them anymore and smiled. Just go on as usual. Everyone go about your own business. If there's anything you need to solve, just look for me. Yes, Commander. The 8 of them answered and left. After the 8 of them left, another 8 people quickly came in and gave him a fist salute, addressing him as Commander. Guoshan exchanged a few words with them and let them go about their business. By noon, the remaining 4 people had yet to appear. Guoshan's face darkened. It was obvious that the 4 of them were still unconvinced. Chuli hugged his shoulders and sneered. Is this what you mean by fists can't solve everything? Elder Gua, do you want me to do it? Guoshan took a deep breath and slowly nodded. We can only do it. On the day of his appointment, if he could not subdue everyone, these unruly fellows would rebel and no one would listen to him in the future. He might as well not be a commander. Chuli scoffed. Don't worry, leave it to me. Let's go to the martial arts field. Guoshan waved his hand. I'm not going, Xiaosong. Xiaosong. Yes, Commander. A tall and burly young man with delicate features ran in. Commander, what orders do you have? Lead the way for Zhao Dai to the martial arts field. Yes. Xiaosong quickly nodded. Xiaosong's name was Song Fei. He was tall and burly, but he had delicate features. His eyes were almost invisible when he smiled. Brother Zhao, who are we looking for at the martial arts field? Song Fei asked with a smile. Chuli scoffed. There are still 4 people who haven't come. Find them and have a good spar with them. Understood. Song Fei quickly replied. When the 2 arrived at the martial arts field, there were not many people left. As the sun rose, the sunlight became stronger, and everyone returned to their own courtyards. Only 12 people were still cultivating. Song Fei pointed at the 4 people who were huddled together, talking and practicing their swordsmanship. Chu Li walked closer and said casually, "You 4 useless things, are you unconvinced that Guoshan is the commander?" A slender young man stared at Chu Li with a gloomy face. "Zhao De, don't think that you can be reckless and do whatever you want just because you have some strength." Chu Li scoffed. "Are you unconvinced that Guoshan is the commander?" "Who said we're unconvinced?" The long-faced young man said coldly. Chu Li grinned. "It's good that you're convinced. I specialize in dealing with those who are unconvinced. We're busy cultivating. Don't disturb us." The long-faced young man scoffed. Chu Li turned and left. Chapter 754. P.S. Update complete. Sorry, there are only 4 updates. Chu Li turned around and walked back. Song Fei quickly followed behind him. He glanced at the 4 people who were training and shook his head. It's fine if they're tough, but they're so soft when it comes to Zhao De. How embarrassing. Elder Gua, let's go deal with Feng Changwan. Chu Li sat down and looked at Guoshan, who was sitting in the armchair. If we don't make a move now and someone else gets ahead of us, we'll lose this great merit. He knew that he could not rush things if he wanted to impress the Holy Church of Light. He had to take it step by step, but he could not be too slow either. He had to make enough contributions as soon as possible to enter the sights of 3 Wonders Clan and Luo State City. He had already achieved his goal of making a name for himself by helping Guoshan establish his authority. Everyone in Chivalry Association knew that he had a fortuitous encounter that increased his strength and was not easy to deal with. Not many dared to say that they could defeat him. However, it was not enough to establish his authority within the association. He had to make a name for himself in Peace Town and even move Luo State City. Killing Feng Changwan was a good opportunity. Moreover, Feng Changwan was the murderer who killed the real Zhao De. He wanted to avenge Zhao De. "Don't rush," Guoshan said. Chu Li said impatiently, "Don't rush. You can't eat sh*t while it's hot." "You?" Guoshan shook his head and laughed. Chu Li scoffed. "You need to make enough contributions to secure your position as a commander. They're all convinced by me now. As long as you make a contribution, everyone will be convinced. Feng Changwan is hard to deal with." Guoshan sighed. This Zhao De was really enlightened now. What he said was very clear. Indeed, he should contribute enough in order to be able to sit firmly in his position as the incense master. Chu Li scoffed. "I can kill him." "You?" Guoshan shook his head. "Not necessarily. Leave it to me. It won't be a problem." Chu Li patted his chest. Guoshan said, "All right, I'll talk to association leader." Chu Li smiled. When the 2 of them walked back at night, Chu Li's expression was unpleasant and he was fuming. Guoshan went to talk to association leader about killing Feng Changwan, but was sent away by association leader. He said that he had made arrangements and they did not need to worry. When they entered Chivalry Association the next day, Chu Li was practicing his blade technique when Zhou Xingbong approached him. Chu Li glanced at him. Zhou Xingbong beckoned him over. Chu Li put down his blade and walked towards him. The 2 of them came to the side of the martial arts field, keeping a distance from the crowd. "I heard that you want to kill Feng Changwan the most." "Of course I want to kill him." Chu Li nodded. "I was almost killed by him. Although I had a fortuitous encounter because of it, I'm not grateful to him at all. Gang leader wants to show weakness to the enemy." Zhou Xingbong said in a deep voice. "We need to numb him, then ambush him. Don't mess around now and ruin the gang leader's plan." Chu Li curled his lips and said, "You're still pretending to be weak? You don't have to pretend anymore. You're already very weak. Zhao De, you're rebelling." Zhou Xingbong's face darkened, and he said coldly, "Are you not going to listen to the sect leader's words?" "Gang leader, what kind of lousy plan is this?" Chu Li said bluntly, "You're still showing weakness? Why are you still playing tricks instead of killing him? What a joke. You little rascal, what do you know?" Zhou Xingbong said coldly, "How can I be impatient when dealing with Feng Changwan? Don't you know what happened to the Vice Association leader last time? You rushed to him, and what happened in the end? Chuli scoffed. Zhou Xingbang said, Feng Changwan is very cunning. Not only is he skilled in martial arts, but he's also very smart. If you want to deal with someone like him, not only will you have to use force, you'll also have to use your brain. An idiot like you rushed to him, and you won't even be able to touch him. Elder Zhou, in any case, I think he's a scourge. It's better to deal with him as soon as possible so that no one else gets hurt. Chuli scoffed. Who doesn't know that? Do I need you to tell me that? Zhou Xingbang waved his hand impatiently. Anyway, don't interfere with Feng Changwan's matter and don't mess around. Just wait for the good news later. Chuli scoffed. Zhou Xingbang glared at him and scoffed. Did you hear that? You're not allowed to interfere anymore. If you dare to mess around, I'll expel you from the sect. Chuli pouted. Who are you trying to scare? Try me if you don't believe me. Zhou Xingbang glared at him and turned to leave. Chuli smiled as he watched Zhou Xingbang leave. His position in the sect had greatly improved. He had shown enough power to suppress everyone and immediately gained attention. Now that he wanted to kill Feng Changwan, the sect leader would be nervous and afraid that he would mess up his plan. This was exactly what he wanted. It looked like he had to stir up more trouble and make his name known not only in the Chivalry Association, but also in Peacetown and Luo State City. It would be more beneficial for him to join the Holy Church of Light as soon as possible. The next night, the moonlight shone like water. He was freeloading at Guoshan's house. Both of them sat on the brick bed and leaned against the low table as they ate and drank. Suddenly, hurried footsteps were heard and Song Fei rushed in. Commander, something bad has happened. Guoshan waved his hand. Take a breather and speak properly. Song Fei took a deep breath and quickly said, Commander Zhou is seriously injured and his life is in danger. What happened? Guoshan frowned. Song Fei said, Commander Zhou was ambushed by Feng Changwan and the others. Ambushed again? Guoshan frowned. Chuli slammed his chopsticks on the table. Trash. Guoshan turned and glared at him. Don't spout nonsense. Chuli said angrily. We should have dealt with Feng Changwan earlier, but yesterday, Elder Zhou came over and asked me to calm down. Association leader was pretending to be weak and wanted to numb Feng Changwan so he could ambush him. In the end, he failed to numb Feng Changwan and instead numbed himself. Don't you think he's trash? I can only say that Feng Changwan is cunning. Guoshan shook his head. Chuli said, I think there's a traitor. Shut up. Guoshan widened his eyes. Song Fei was shocked. Chuli said, Isn't it obvious? I don't believe that Feng Changwan is so smart to ambush so accurately. Who would believe that there's no traitor? Don't spout nonsense. Young Song, is Commander Zhou badly injured? Guoshan quickly waved his hand and turned his head. Yes, association leader has rushed over. Song Fei quickly replied. Then we have to go too. Hurry up. Guoshan picked up his crutches and got off the brick bed. Chuli pouted. What are you going to do with your legs? It's already so late. All right, I'll just go and take a look. Guoshan said, Of course I have to go. He quickly walked out with his crutches. Chuli and Song Fei followed behind him. The three of them walked for more than 5 miles and arrived at Zhou Xingbang's house. There was already a group of people standing outside. They were all members of Chivalry Association. When they saw Guoshan, they greeted him. Guoshan entered Zhou Xingbang's courtyard and went to the living room. Qiao Zhenhai was sitting together with Zhou Xingbang and the others in discussion. Zhou Xingbang's face was pale, but his life was not in danger. Guoshan sighed in relief when he saw him. Chuli, on the other hand, sneered as he looked at Zhou Xingbang and suddenly laughed, pretending to be weak and numbing Feng Changwan. Haha, you guys are so funny. Chapter 755. Everyone glared at him, especially Zhou Xingbang, whose eyes were spewing fire. He wanted to slap Chuli. Chuli met his gaze and grinned. Did I say something wrong? Elder Zhou, what did I say earlier? Feng Changwan needs to be eliminated as soon as possible or something bad will happen. Yet, you said something about pretending to be weak in order to win. What about now? Zhao De, it's not your place to speak. Get lost. Zhou Xingbang yelled. Are you angry now? Chu Li grinned and pointed at him. You went for wool and came home shorn. How embarrassing. Day, get out first. Guoshan waved his hand and tried to signal him with his eyes. Chu Li said, Can I listen? This is a conversation between the commander and association leaders. It's not your place to interrupt. Get lost. Zhou Xingbang yelled. He suddenly coughed violently, and his face turned red as he hunched his body. Guoshan waved his hand. Quick, get out. He was afraid that if this continued, Zhou Xingbang would be angered to death. Xiao Zhenhai shook his head. Dave, go out and wait for a while. Yes. Chu Li still showed enough respect for this association leader. Although he felt that he was indecisive and was not the right person to be the association leader, he had the tolerance to others, which was very rare. Chu Li could vaguely see the shadow of the eldest master, Xiao Tang. He strode outside. Xiao Dai, how's Commander Zhou? Someone asked. Chu Li glanced at them and saw that almost all the association disciples were there. He scoffed. Don't worry, he won't die. That's good. Everyone sighed in relief. Commander Wu had just died. If another commander died, Chivalry Association would be in danger and might even be wiped out by Ferric Blood Association. If that happened, everyone's fate would be terrible. It was related to their own fate, so they had to be concerned. Chu Li glanced at them and curled his lips in disdain. They stopped talking to him and gathered together to discuss. This was what Chu Li wanted. He did not want to have anything to do with them, especially not develop feelings, or he would be asking for trouble. After a while, Guoshan came out with his crutch and called Chu Li and his 20 subordinates out. Chu Li and Guoshan returned to his house. The 20 subordinates did not leave, and Madame Guo had arranged for them to stay. From today onwards, they would be staying here to protect Guoshan and prevent Feng Changwen from ambushing him. Chu Li sat with him in the courtyard. Chu Li scoffed. Elder Guo, what did the association leader say? Wait, Guoshan said. Chu Li raised his voice. Are we still going to wait? Feng Changwen must be on high alert now. Ferric Blood Association must be waiting for everyone to pounce on him. Guoshan shook his head and said, We won't be able to gain anything even if we go. That's why we'll wait for a while and weaken their morale before we attack. Association leader is really dilly-dallying. Let's just rush up and fight. Chu Li said impatiently. We're already at a time like this, and you're still talking about strategy. Guoshan snapped. Do you think we can defeat the Ferric Blood Gang? We'll only know after we fight. Chu Li scoffed. Guoshan said, The Ferric Blood Association has 2 more commanders than us. Now that Commander Wu is dead and I'm in this state, we're still lacking 3 commanders. Think about it. Once the 2 associations start fighting, do you think we can win? You still have me. Chu Li patted his chest. I had a fortuitous encounter. Guoshan shook his head and laughed. You're just a bunch of stupid strength. They knew that Xiao Dai had a fortuitous encounter and had a huge increase in strength, but he was still an acquired cultivation level. Subconsciously, they felt that no matter how strong Xiao Dai was, he could not be that strong. If he had a huge increase in his cultivation level after the fortuitous encounter and became an innate master, everyone would see him as a master. However, if his cultivation level remained the same, with only a slight increase in strength, he would not be able to show off. Useless, Chu Li said snappily. If this goes on, we'll be defeated one by one. We won't even have the strength to fight back. Association leader has already bribed an informant, Guoshan said in a low voice. Guoshan lowered his voice and said, We'll receive news about Feng Changwen in 2 days. Then we'll ambush him. Chu Li was skeptical. Is it reliable? Feng Changwen was so cunning. How could he not be wary of an informant? Absolutely not a problem. Guoshan scoffed. Once we know Feng Changwen's whereabouts, we'll attack him with all our might. Let's see where he can escape to. Chu Li shook his head. That's too unpleasant. If it were up to me, I'd rush into the Ferric Blood Association and kill them all. You're digging your own grave. Guoshan shook his head. Chu Li scoffed. Just you wait. Sooner or later, you'll have to follow my plan. Go to sleep. Guoshan smiled nonchalantly. Chu Li left resentfully. In the middle of the night, there was a sudden sound of a door being knocked, waking the entire residence up. Everyone carried their weapons into the courtyard. Guishan also came out with a crutch. Chu Li rubbed his eyes as he walked into the courtyard. He had been restraining his urge to return to King An's imperial residence for the past 2 days. These few days were crucial. He could not afford to be distracted. Song Fei ran in and saw that everyone was there. He hurried to Guishan's side and put his mouth in front of Guishan's ear. Guishan frowned and glared at him, then leaned over to listen in. "What?" Guishan cried out involuntarily. Song Fei nodded vigorously. Chu Li looked at Guishan. "Elder Guo, what news?" Guishan gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Commander Zhou is dead. How did he die?" Chu Li asked. Guishan gritted his teeth. Feng Changwen brought a group of people and charged into Commander Zhou's house. He killed Commander Zhou and his 16 subordinates. Everyone was shocked. Chu Li shook his head and sneered. Guishan turned to look at Chu Li. "Now you know how cunning Feng Changwen is?" Chu Li scoffed. "You can't talk about strategies with this kind of person. It's just one thing, fight." "Yes, fight." Everyone nodded. They were furious that 2 Commander Zhou had been killed in a row. Guishan said impatiently, "Shut up." Bang! Suddenly, there was a muffled sound. Guishan slammed the stone table and yelled, "Someone's charging over!" He turned his head and said, "Everyone, get ready to fight." Everyone was stunned and their bodies tensed up. Chu Li laughed out loud. "They're finally here to die? Watch me." "Dave, don't force yourself. There's an innate master." Guishan said. "Innate masters are nothing. I'll kill them with one stab." Chu Li yelled. He pushed through the crowd and arrived at the main entrance. He stood just inside the doorsill and looked like a man holding the pass. A group of people charged over like galloping horses, each of them waving their swords and swords. Chu Li waved his long blade and yelled, "Ferric Blood Association idiots, come and die." The shiny long blade buzzed. He had changed to a better blade. Although it was not a blade that could cut through iron like mud, it was very heavy. It was made according to his requirements and was 10 times heavier than a normal long blade. The leader was a middle-aged man who was a perfected innate master. When he saw Chu Li's arrogance, he sped up and charged forward. The long blade in his hand borrowed the momentum of his charge and slashed forward with an imposing manner. Chu Li did not dodge and used the Yin lifting form. Ding! The 2 blades clashed. The middle-aged man's long blade flew out and rolled in the air. Chapter 756. The middle-aged man quickly tried to dodge. However, due to his forward momentum, he was not as agile when he turned around. He could only watch as a blade came slashing at him. He felt a pain in his neck, and his surroundings turned upside down until everything turned into darkness. The middle-aged man's head rolled on the ground. His body was still charging forward when Chu Li kicked him, sending him flying towards the people from the Ferric Blood Association. They were shocked and quickly dodged. A shout came from the crowd. "Rush over and kill him! Kill him!" The people from the Ferric Blood Association immediately sped up and reached Chu Li in the blink of an eye. Chu Li laughed out loud. "Awesome! Awesome!" He swung his long saber to meet the several sabers. Ding, 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 ding. Amidst a series of clear sounds, 6 knives flew into the air, followed by a person's head. Chu Li swung his blade like lightning. It did not matter if it was a blade or a person. Once he swung his blade, he cut through all blades and people. His blade force was unstoppable. He stood at the door. There were only 6 people charging at him at the same time. Chu Li used the river raising form again. The people at the front quickly retreated. After witnessing Chu Li's ferocity and brutality, they did not dare to take it head-on and wanted to retreat. However, the people at the back wanted to rush forward, while the people in front wanted to retreat. TSK, TSK, TSK. 3 heads flew. Chu Li took a step forward and laughed. "Come on again. Let's go." Someone shouted. The crowd turned and ran. Chu Li stood at the door and laughed. "Ha! Idiots from the Ferric Blood Association, look at your guts. You're even more cowardly than a mouse. Ha! Guoshan quickly ran over with his crutch. He saw the blood and headless corpses on the ground and looked at Chu Li. He smiled excitedly. Good. Chu Li grinned and chuckled. I'm good, right? Good, good. Guoshan patted his shoulder and smiled. I didn't expect you to be so powerful, Day. How many times have I told you? You don't believe me. Chu Li shook his head. Ugh. A few people covered their mouths and ran away, not daring to watch. Chivalry's sect and Iron Blood sect might have clashed before, and there had been injuries from weapons, but they had never seen such a horrifying scene where a person's head had been cut in half. They could not withstand the powerful impact, and they could not stop themselves from vomiting. Pack up. Everyone, stay alert. Don't sleep too soundly. Guoshan shouted. Xiangzhu, Song Fei said, I'm going to scout for information. Go. Guoshan smiled. Don't get caught. Don't worry, Commander. Song Fei smiled. As he spoke, he crawled out and disappeared into the night. Chu Li and Guoshan returned to the courtyard and sat by the stone table. Day, are you hurt? It's nothing. Chu Li patted his chest and said proudly, It's nothing. The previous one was an innate master. Guoshan said, Inner energy is invisible. You have to be careful. My body is very strong. Minor injuries are no problem. I'll be fine after a good night's sleep. Chu Li said, just now, that internal energy had indeed rushed into his body. However, to his strong body, this internal energy's damage was negligible, so he didn't have to bother with it. You killed an innate master, Guoshan exclaimed. Some of the disciples were so frightened that they vomited while others were very excited. They quickly kept the 5 corpses. First, they rinsed the blood with water, then covered them with a pile of dry mud. Then they swept the mud away, repeating this process twice. However, the smell of blood was still very strong. Very quickly, Song Fei rushed back and entered the courtyard. In a low voice, he said, Xiangzhu, the town is in chaos. Not only did the Ferric Blood Gang attack us, and Xiangzhu Zhou, even Xiangzhu Deng and Xiangzhu Su were attacked. The gang leader's side is also fighting. What's the outcome? Guoshan asked. They're still fighting. Song Fei said. I'll go take a look. Chu Li suddenly shouted excitedly. I haven't killed enough. Guoshan thought about it and nodded. Yes, we can't just sit back and do nothing. We have to go and help them. Let's go to Commander Su's house first. The association leader's martial arts is profound. He can handle it. We don't have to worry. There is almost no one in Peacetown who could threaten the association leader. Even the association leader of the Ferric Blood Association might not be able to defeat the association leader. Even if he could, the outcome would not be determined in a short time. Let's go, Chu Li said hurriedly. Guoshan raised his voice and shouted, Everyone, let's go and save Commander Su. The Ferric Blood Association has declared war on us. Let's teach them a lesson. Everyone, let's go and save Commander Su. Yes, everyone's morale was high. Although the commander was still injured, they had Zhao Dai. Zhao Dai's previous few ruthless slashes had given them a pillar of support. Although Guoshan was using a crutch, his strides were surprisingly fast. He left the residence and headed straight west. 2 miles passed in the blink of an eye. They heard the sounds of killing and cursing coming from not far away. Chu Li shouted from afar, Idiots of the Ferric Blood Association, I, Chu Li, will deal with you. He took big strides and ran like a wild horse. Everyone wielded their weapons and followed him. Soon, they were left behind. Guoshan was in front of everyone and was about 10 steps away from Chu Li. He had already calculated that this distance was the most suitable. He would not have to fight with the first wave of people and would not make him look weak as a commander. The strongest wave must have been attracted by Zhao Dai. Chu Li rushed into a residence like a galloping horse. More than 40 people were in a messy fight. 12 people were lying on the ground, most of them disciples of the Chivalry Association. Chu Li rushed in and raised his blade. He slashed one person at a time. Some slashed at their shoulders, some at their necks, and some at their chests. None of his men could withstand a single blow. In the blink of an eye, he had fought from head to toe. Commander Su Qinghe was fighting with 2 middle-aged men. He was already injured and in a precarious situation. One of the middle-aged men was tall and fierce, while the other was short and skinny. He wielded his sword like a poisonous snake and suppressed Su Qinghe to the point where he could not fight back. Chu Li rushed over and swung his blade at the tall middle-aged man. The tall middle-aged man was observant and alert. He had already seen Chu Li's fierce momentum and took a step back to avoid the blade. The cold air from the tip of the blade could still penetrate him from a foot away. It made him shudder. Chu Li's mountain-splitting form did not hit him. He took a step forward and used river-raising form again. The middle-aged man retreated again. Chu Li did not chase after him anymore. He turned around and slashed at the short and skinny middle-aged man who was fighting with Su Qinghe. The short and skinny middle-aged man was focused on Su Qinghe and did not notice Chu Li. He swung his sword at Chu Li. Ding! The long sword flew up. Chu Li swung his blade at the man's head again. The short and skinny middle-aged man saw that the situation was bad. He was small and agile. He rolled on the ground and dodged the attack. His palm was still numb. The force from the sword was too strong. Chu Li could not be bothered with him. He went to Su Qinghe and held his blade to protect him. "Commander Su, are you all right?" Su Qinghe shook his head and took out a porcelain bottle. He poured a pill into his mouth and let out a long sigh. "Day, it's all thanks to you." Chu Li held his blade and stood in front of him. "It's nothing. How did you guys get here?" "Those people came to attack Commander Gua too. I defeated them." Chu Li scoffed. "Xiao Song said that a few commanders were attacked, so we ran over to help." The Ferric Blood Association retreated like the tide. Guishan did not chase after them. He rushed in and saw that Su Qinghe was still alive. He let out a long sigh of relief. "Thank God." Su Qinghe fist saluted. His face was still pale. "Commander Gua, thank you." Guishan waved his hand. "We're all brothers in the association. We should help each other. Commander Gua, heal your wounds first. We'll go save Commander Deng and the association leader." "I'll go with everyone." "All right." The group rushed out of the Su residence and headed south. However, when they rushed to Deng Xianli's residence, the battle had stopped. There were injured people lying on the ground. "Where's Commander Deng?" Guishan rushed in and asked. Chapter 757. Su Qinghe walked up to one of the corpses and sighed. "Commander Deng is dead." He sighed to himself. If Guishan had saved Deng Xianli first, he would be the one lying on the ground now. So be it. It's no big deal. Everyone in the martial arts world dies. Let's go to the association leader. Chu Li said. "Yes, let's go." Guishan said. Everyone followed the two commanders and sprinted. There was no one on the streets of Peacetown. The bright moon hung in the sky, and their footsteps broke the peace of Peacetown. People were surprised, but kept their doors and windows shut. They rushed to the Chivalry Association in one go. However, they saw a group of people surrounding the martial arts field. The wind howled in the field, and the sound of banging could be heard. Everyone stood outside and watched. No one dared to approach. In the middle of the field, two people were exchanging blows. Xiao Zhenhai was dressed in a sapphire blue outfit. His face was as clear as jade, and he looked heroic. His opponent was a handsome middle-aged man who moved elegantly. Both of their moves looked soft and did not have a sharp aura. However, each move was filled with energy and forced everyone to retreat. Chu Li glanced at the crowd and shouted, "Let's kill these idiots from the Ferric Blood Association." Guishan quickly said, "Let's wait and see." Chu Li said, "What are you waiting for? I'll do it." As he spoke, he swung his blade and rushed forward. Guishan quickly reached out to pull him back, but failed. He felt as if he had been dragged by a wild horse and almost fell. They only had about 40 people, but there were about 80 in the field. There was a huge difference, and they had to fight one against two. If they challenged hastily, they would be courting death. However, they did not expect Zhao Dei to be so stubborn and take the initiative to cause trouble. He originally wanted to wait for Xiao Zhenhai and the association leader of the Ferric Blood Association, Song Taiwa, to decide what to do. If the association leader won, they could follow up with another attack. If the association leader lost, they should not force themselves and run first. The people from the Ferric Blood Association glanced at them but did not rush forward. They must have the same thought. At this time, the association leader would win, and they would not have to waste any more effort. The two groups had a tacit understanding and did not want to fight. However, Chu Li broke their tacit understanding. Chu Li raised his blade and killed 2 people, instantly angering the Ferric Blood Association. They relied on the fact that they had the advantage in numbers, and they had never regarded the people from Chivalry's sect with any importance. They just did not want to waste their energy to deal with them, but they did not expect that the people from Chivalry's sect would be so insensible. Then, they would just destroy them. "Kill Zhao Dai," someone shouted. Everyone rushed forward and surrounded Chu Li. Swords and knives fell on his body. Chu Li's long blade twirled around his body like a silver waterfall. Ding, 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 ding. A series of clear sounds rang out as the long sabers and swords flew into the air. He followed up with another river-raising form. 3 heads flew into the air. Chu Li ran amok in the crowd. Wherever he went, no one was a match for him. However, it was inevitable that swords and knives would fall on his body. Very soon, his body was covered with wounds. He did not care about it as he continued to rush forward and kill. Then, he turned around and killed the people behind him. In one breath, he had killed 20 people. His entire body was bathed in blood, and he looked like a god of death. When everyone met his cold gaze, they felt an indescribable chill in their hearts. Chu Li laughed out loud. "Come on, you idiots from the Ferric Blood Association. Let me kill to my heart's content." As he said that, he rushed into the crowd again. "Use hidden weapons," someone shouted. Immediately, a rain of hidden weapons enveloped Chu Li. Chu Li waved his long blade. Ding, ding sounds rang out, but none of the hidden weapons landed on him. He rushed into the crowd in one breath and swung his blade again to cut off heads. The river-raising form made heads fall to the ground. The mountain-splitting form made arms fall to the ground, and the lifting form cut open the abdomen. It was a horrifying scene. Guoshan gritted his teeth and shouted, "We can't let brother Zhao go alone. Everyone, let's attack together. Go!" The crowd yelled as they rushed forward and followed behind Chu Li. Chu Li was invincible. Wherever he went, no one was a match for him. Ding! A crisp sound was heard. A young man's long blade was deflected. It spun in the air and slashed down again. Chu Li's eyes widened as he shouted, "Feng Changwen." This was an extremely handsome young man. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. His face was handsome and his eyes were bright, which showed that he had a profound inner energy. Feng Changwen smiled. "Zhao Dai, you really have a fortuitous encounter. You do have some skills." Chu Li scoffed. "You only know how to do things sneakily." Feng Changwen laughed. "As long as I can get rid of all of you, what's the harm in doing it sneakily? Take this." This time, his blade was faster than before. Chu Li scoffed. "You take this too." He ignored Feng Changwen's blade and used the lifting form. His blade was faster than Feng Changwen's by a notch. Feng Changwen could only move sideways to avoid it and followed up with another blade. Chu Li wielded his blade like lightning. His speed was even faster as he used the mountain-splitting form to force Feng Changwen to dodge again. Chu Li swung his blade forward and forced Feng Changwen to retreat. Chu Li laughed. "Feng Changwen, that's all you've got." Feng Changwen raised his arm and a cold glint shot out from his sleeve. Chu Li used his blade to deflect the short arrow. Feng Changwen's long blade was already coming at him. Chu Li used his blade again to block this blade. A mighty force came from the blade, and a strange inner energy entered his body. His expression changed. Chu Li's expression changed not because of his internal injury, but because he was familiar with this inner energy. The scripture of great light. The killing intent in his heart grew stronger. He shouted and swung his blade. Feng Changwen sensed something was wrong. The recoil from a blade made his arm numb. He did not have the strength to swing his blade again, so he quickly retreated. Chu Li rushed forward. Feng Changwen suddenly dodged. He was unusually agile as he moved with the force of the blade. Like a lotus leaf on water, he was light and agile, In an instant, he disappeared into the crowd. Chuli did not expect his light body technique to be so powerful. He shouted, "Feng Changwan, you sneaky villain. You only know how to plot and not fight openly. You despicable villain." He swung his blade as he cursed. Feng Changwan hid in the crowd and pretended not to hear him. He did not move and blended into the crowd. "Let's go," someone shouted. Chuli saw that it was Feng Changwan who spoke in the crowd. The people of the Fair Blood Association rushed out. In the blink of an eye, there were only people left on the ground. Some were screaming, while others had already breathed their last. The smell of blood was so thick that it was almost tangible. Most of the people around turned pale and wanted to vomit. Chuli stomped his feet and cursed. "Ferric Blood Association idiots. You're as cowardly as mice." Bam! A figure suddenly rushed over and a palm was aimed at his chest. He quickly swung his blade, but it was too late. He felt as if his chest was hit by a large hammer, and he was sent flying. Chuli had already seen through Song Tiehua's palm. He was confident in his body. Even if a grandmaster were to hit him hard, he would still be able to withstand it. Moreover, at this juncture, he could only endure it. He could not show his true abilities, or else all his previous efforts would be wasted. Bam! He flew more than 20 meters and crashed into a wall. He was stuck to the wall like a painting and spat out a mouthful of blood. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.